4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. Welcome to the Nevada Unified School District Board of Trustees meeting, March 2nd, 7 o'clock. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is reportable actions from closed session. Diana Gaston, trustee.
Okay. So for item 3B, can you hear me? Okay. With respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 and Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, Jonathan Ferrer, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, Employees Organization, California School Employees Association, CSEA. The board gave direction. Item C, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 and Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, Jonathan Ferrer, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, Employees Organization, Nevada Federation of Teachers, NFT, discussion only. Item D, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 and Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, Jonathan Ferrer, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, Employees Organization, Management, Unrepresented, Nevada Unified School District, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I must have missed on that. Sorry. Item D. I cut and paste because I can't read the size. So Human Resources, Employees of Organization, Management, Unrepresented. The board gave direction. Item E, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel, pending litigation, Coalition to Save San Marin versus Nevada Unified School District, Marin County Superior Court case number CIV 1702295. The board gave direction. Item F, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to California Education Code Section 54956.8, conference with property negotiator, real property negotiations, price and term, Nevada Unified School District, North Bay Children's Center, Parcel 1A, Parcel 1B, Parcel 2, C Street, Nevada, California 94949. Negotiator, Yancey Hawkins, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. The board gave direction. And that's it.
Thank you very much. The next item is number 7, approval of the agenda. The board is going to agree on the order of business for the evening. So I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion.
Trustee Aguilar moves and a second from Trustee Nell. All in favor of taking the business as listed. 7 trustees in the room and student trustees, both Eva, pardon me, and Elizabeth. Thank you very much. Next item, public comments on the consent agenda. We'll take up the consent agenda. Are there any comments on the consent agenda? Trustee Butler, do you need to recuse yourself from some of these?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that. 16G, recusing myself from 16G regarding the grounds maintenance and operations building.
So item 16G, is there any other items that people, any other public comment? Hearing none? No, hearing none. So I'll need approval of the consent agenda, not including item 16G. Trustee Butler will recuse herself. All in favor, I need a motion.
I will move acceptance of tonight's consent agenda without item 16.
Okay. Trustee Nell moves the consent agenda. Trustee Aguilar seconds, not including item 16G. All in favor of all of the items except 16G. We have 7 in the room and both student trustees are voting. Do I see? Yes, they both vote yes. Now we will take up item 16G separately, which is in an area where Trustee Butler is going to have to recuse herself. I need a motion.
I'll move that we approve item 16G.
Trustee Mack moves and second,
I'll second.
Trustee Aguilar, all in favor of 16G. 6 in favor, Trustee Butler abstains, and the 2 student trustee
Mhm.
members vote yes. Thank you very much. So that concludes our consent agenda item. The next item is the student presentation number 10. Superintendent Tosca, do you want to lead us on this item?
Sure, happy to do so. So we're excited that we have Principal Hospodar and Assistant Principal Parnell here from Hamilton School. They're going to talk with us about some of the things that help to bring a culture of caring and excellence to Hamilton School. And tonight they're going to focus a little bit on the middle school program and how that's worked during COVID. So with that, I'll turn it over to Principal Hospodar and Assistant Principal Parnell. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Koska. Thank you for having us here tonight. Appreciate it. As you know, my name is Steve Hospodar, Principal of Hamilton K-8. And tonight we have a video to share with you some highlights of our Hamilton's middle school music program, COVID style. I have some people to thank tonight. I have Stephanie Parnell, Assistant Principal at Hamilton, and also Sarah Smith, Hamilton's middle school teacher, who have collaborated on this project that you're about to see. Also, very importantly, I'd like to thank Paola and Ben and Devin and Javon for sharing their music and their music process with us tonight. And what's important, I think, about this video is the project showcases creativity and expression even during this current climate. So I want to thank them for sharing that. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video.
Hi, my name is Sarah Smith, and I am the middle school music teacher at Hamilton School. We used a digital music studio program called Soundtrap. Because Soundtrap is a digital program, students were able to access this program no matter where they were. We were able to collaborate even though we were working remotely. This program allows students to explore all kinds of musical sounds and use their creativity in a way that speaks to students of this era. It allowed them to create all kinds of music that really shows off their creativity and their uniqueness. Their projects are amazing, unique, individual. It allowed them to connect to each other, even though we were remote. I hope you enjoy their projects just as much as I did.
My name is Ben. I'm in 8th grade. I liked the project because I feel like it really helped me let my creativity out. It helped me figure out some things. And the Soundtrap allows me to be creative because I don't have to have the instruments at my disposal. I just need to kind of trial and error. And I definitely do think I'll continue to use the program.
My name is Javon Sansom. I'm in the 8th grade, and one thing that I liked about the project or about Soundtrack was that it was pretty fun making like sounds and stuff, making a song, I guess you could say. I liked it, like I liked the like creativity, I guess you could say, of how like it let you do basically almost anything. And then it allowed me to be creative by giving me like almost everything, every sound you could choose from. So like I could use anything in something, like a song and stuff. I probably will continue to use a program after school and stuff.
Hi, my name is Paula. I'm from 6th grade. And what I liked about Soundtrap was that I was able to record myself playing my guitar. I was also able to add other tracks of me playing guitar chords along with my original track. It was actually really fun trying to blend them together to make a song that I played on my own.
My name is Devin. I am in 7th grade. What I liked about the project, nothing had to be specific. You could just create what you wanted to. How Soundtrap allowed me to become creative. It has a bunch of different stuff. It could go from just vocal to drums and all different types of instruments. And what I did, I like Soundtrap, so I downloaded it onto my computer because it's just really creative.
just wanted to follow up the video with how incredibly proud we are of Sarah and her students for finding such a creative way of bringing music to the kids and during this COVID time. As we know, music sometimes, creates that, that bond to school that kids need, and is so important to their social emotional well-being. And although they couldn't play wind instruments or sing or do some of the things that they're used to doing because of COVID, she still made it interesting and brought it to them in such a powerful way and let them take ownership of it. So yeah, we're very proud of our music program right now and Sarah Smith and her kids.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the Hamilton campus?
I'll just say something. I think that's just really impressive work the kids did. I have a nephew in NYU music school, and he's been doing that stuff in high school for the last couple of years, and these guys are doing it in 7th and 8th grade. That is awesome, and I can imagine how much fun they're having with it.
Yeah.
So good for them to just kind of think this through and put it together. And one thing that's really cool that I noticed: no fade outs. Everybody ended their songs. I can't tell you how many music critics make a big point of that.
Cool. Other comments? Student trustees? Any? Okay, we're going to move on then into the next item. Thank you, Principal Hofstadter, Assistant Principal Parnell. Thank you for the great introduction to your community. Thanks. And we're going to move forward to item 11, community presentation. Superintendent Koskinen.
Yeah, I am super happy. We're about to be in the presence of greatness. We're going to be here with the Novato Citizen of the Year, Susan Matthews, when she's not wearing her crown from being the Novato Citizen of the Year. Susan is wearing her other cape, where she is the executive director of School Fuel. We're so thrilled to have Susan leading that great ship. It's been a challenging year through the pandemic. Had to do a lot of things very differently. But one thing I love about School Fuel is they don't look for excuses. They look for solutions. They just keep finding ways to keep making good things happen for our kids. So with that, I'll turn it over to Susan. Thanks for being here, Susan.
Thanks for inviting me. We have a PowerPoint presentation I wanted to share with everyone. Let's see. And it was great to be able to see what's going on with the kids in the music program at Hamilton just before this, because that's one of the grants that we provided this year was for that music program. So super excited to see what's happening there. As all of you know, we've been around since 2003, working to support our Novato public schools. But you might not know what we've been up to lately because we haven't seen each other much in the last year. So we wanted to give you a little update that we have not had many of our regularly scheduled events, but we are continuing to raise funds as best we can through our partnership with Schools Rural Marin and through our own efforts. Tour of Novato is the biggest event that you're probably familiar with. And we also have a lot of business partnerships. We have been providing grants this year, and those grants have been a really great way to innovate and let students express a lot of creativity. And we are up to 145 grants now that we've done through our enrichment grant program. We're always looking for opportunities for students to shine. So we especially enjoy funding music, art. There's a picture of Zoom mock trial. This was the San Marin mock trial team, which was one of our grant recipients this year, and they managed to do their whole program online. We're still promoting volunteerism. We continue to work with all of our PTAs. We sponsored a school board candidate forum. We haven't been out at in-person events, but we've been trying to be at online events as much as possible. And one of the big shifts that we've done this year is we've been promoting literacy through bags of books that have been available to students. We did them along with the school lunch giveaways over the summer. And now every Thursday, we're in the driveway at Hill for people to get curbside delivery of books. We have things for toddlers through 12th graders. And Tour of Novato is back this year. We canceled last year, but we think we've come up with a safe, socially distant event that we have been working in partnership with the county and public health. And we have a premiere video tonight, so you can hear a little bit more about it.
We're missing audio.
We can't hear. Can't hear it. People can't hear it out in the community either.
Do we know how much time's left?
Extra.
Can we have her stop and start?
So when we get to the end of the video, I'm gonna say some things.
Yeah.
Playing it without hearing it.
Susan, can you do me a favor and pause the video?
Sure.
We're not hearing audio.
Oh,
So we're gonna do a couple things. We have a couple of different technical challenges going on right now that are, yours is the smaller of the two. So I'm gonna ask that we put the meeting on hold for a minute right now. We have an issue that NCTV is streaming the wrong meeting right now. They are streaming the meeting from last week or 2 weeks ago versus the meeting from now. So we're gonna just pause for a minute and try to figure out that issue so that we can address that. And then once we've addressed that, we can have Susan restart the video and we can restart it with audio so that we can hear it. So Apologize for these ongoing IT related issues. This is complicated stuff that we're trying to do with these meetings to try to get it out to all the different platforms, so our community can engage with it, to do it in a way that's accessible. So please, I know there are people in the community that are frustrated. Please know that there are people in this room that are frustrated that these issues continue to pop up. But give us a few minutes. We'll try to get it right. We're committed to that.
Take a break and we will give people a couple minutes notice when we go back into session. They're ready.
Okay, so sounds like we're ready to get going. Yeah. Okay, so we'll do a couple of things. We will finish the if it's okay with the board. This is the board's meeting. We will have Susan come on board and re-show her video. Once that concludes, we will bring up the Hamilton video and we'll re-show the Hamilton video. And again, we apologize for this. We strive to do better, but we're doing the best we can in this terrible situation. So
we're set to, are all the technical issues resolved?
So we think we're ready for Susan to restart her.
Okay.
All right, Susan, you ready?
Okay, so.
Okay, it sounds like maybe the problem is in my computer though. If the Hamilton video had sound and mine didn't.
We're gonna find out pretty quick here, I think.
Okay.
So from the very beginning, your audio was not unable. We saw a video, but we didn't hear any of the sound. So.
But you're getting this sound of my
Yes,
voice.
we hear your voice now.
Okay.
Susan, your lower left. Is that us?
We don't know if that's us or her.
Susan, when you click share screen, make sure the checkbox is marked for your computer's audio.
Okay.
No, we don't have any
No
sound.
audio.
Not getting audio?
So Susan, something that you can do if it works for you is you could send us the link for your presentation and we could add it to the end of week communication that goes out to the community. We can put something out about your video.
Okay.
If that
Happy
works
to do
for
that.
you. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to see the visual preview.
It was beautiful.
I'm sorry
Very
we
cute
didn't get to hear
kids.
the audio. It's like a teaser. You're teasing
You
us
would much
about how
rather
good
see
it is.
that than my face. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else you'd like to share before you wrap up for the night, Susan?
The one thing I want to emphasize is that registrations are now open for Tour of Novato. Tourofnovato.org is where you go.
Okay.
Superintendent Costa, can we get this not only on the board meeting, can we get this on the school, on the district website?
Well,
so people can find it?
Susan and Leslie will work together to figure out the right ways for us to share the video. We're
Perfect.
more than happy to push that as broadly as we can. So happy to help. Sorry for the technical challenges.
You want to go back and
All right,
cover
so if we
Hamilton?
could have someone pull up do we have access to the Hamilton video? Okay, so we're gonna now share the Hamilton Middle School Music Program video.
Hi, my name is Sarah Smith, and I am the middle school music teacher at Hamilton School. We used a digital music studio program called Soundtrap. Because Soundtrap is a digital program, students were able to access this program no matter where they were. We were able to collaborate even though we were working remotely. This program allows students to explore all kinds of musical sounds and use their creativity in a way that speaks to students of this era. It allowed them to create all kinds of music that really shows off their creativity and their uniqueness. Their projects are amazing, unique, individual. It allowed them to connect to each other, even though we were remote. I hope you enjoy their projects just as much as I did.
My name is Ben. I'm in 8th grade. I liked the project because I feel like it really helped me let my creativity out. It helped me figure out some things. And The soundtrack allows me to be creative because I don't have to have the instruments at my disposal. I just need to kind of trial and error. And I definitely do think I'll continue to use the program.
My name is Javon Sansom. I'm in the 8th grade, and one thing that I liked about the project or about soundtrack was that it was pretty fun making like sounds and stuff, making a song, I guess you could say. I liked it, like I liked the like creativity, I guess you could say, of how like it let you do basically almost anything. And then it allowed me to be creative by giving me like almost everything, every sound you could choose from. So like I could use anything in something, like a song and stuff. I probably will continue to use a program after school and stuff.
Hi, my name is Paula. I'm from 6th grade. And what I liked about Soundtrap was that I was able to record myself playing my guitar. I was also able to add other tracks of me playing guitar chords along with my original track. It was actually really fun trying to blend them together to make a song that I played on my own.
My name is Devin. I am in 7th grade. What I liked about the project, nothing had to be specific. You could just create what you wanted to. How Soundtrap allowed me to become creative. It has a bunch of different stuff. It could go from just vocal to drums and all different types of instruments. And what I did, I like Soundtrap, so I downloaded it onto my computer because it's just really creative.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we've just revisited item number 10, the student presentation, so people at home could hear it. We've already done item 11, the community presentation from School Fuel and Susan Matthews. So we're going to be moving to item 12, announcements, board superintendent, student board members. And we're going to start with our student board members presentation. So Eva and then Elizabeth. And then we'll move to the rest of the members of the room.
Yeah. So I think we're going to start with our school announcements and then do our statement afterwards.
Okay, that's fine. So do you want to have all the board members do their discussion and then have an opportunity to make your announcement at the end, or how would you like it?
I think you mean Eva, did you mean Eva would go do the school announcements for Novato High, then we do the school announcements for San Marin, and then together you would do your final statement together? Okay, got it.
Okay. So last week at Novato, we celebrated Black History Month with a district-wide assembly featuring an artist named Grio B. And that was a really fun assembly, and it was really great to hear from that artist. On March 4th, we're having a baseball fundraiser, serving a barbecue dinner, and pickup is going to be in the Novato High parking lot. 9th and 10th graders returned to school yesterday, and so far I've heard all good things. I've heard that they're really excited to get back. And then next week is our Homecoming Spirit Week, and we are going to be celebrating different places around Marin. Wednesday is our virtual homecoming rally, and then on March 12th, we'll be crowning our homecoming royalty in a socially distanced celebration on the field, and it'll be live streamed on Instagram and Facebook.
Cool.
All right. Just a quick update from San Marin, and also a little side note. If you're watching this and you go to Novato High School, vote for Eva Gogus for homecoming queen.
Vote for Elizabeth.
Thank you. Anyways, we had a very successful opening to school for in-person instruction for 9th and 10th grade students. And we look forward to juniors and seniors coming next week. So it was really awesome to have students on campus, socializing and observing teachers do a phenomenal job serving our students and helping them get back into school. So we're really excited about like the sports ban in California being lifted and all of our athletic teams finally getting the opportunity to compete and represent San Marin High School. I know I'm happy because, you know, I'm a fellow soccer fanatic. I also was very impressed with the Black History Month assembly that we did with Novato High School. Grio B was very captivating and informative. I'd love to have him again sometime. In STEM, application season is wrapping up, and more notifications will be sent out this week. And also this week, San Marin unveiled their homecoming court for the football game against Novato High on the 27th, which we are still in hopes of hopefully doing a COVID safe celebratory event. So that's the update.
Did you
All
two
right.
want to do a joint
Yeah,
announcement?
so we wanted to do a joint statement about just a few things we've been hearing. So Eva, when you're ready, I'm ready.
Okie doke. Just to preface, Jada, Elizabeth, and I wanted to put out this statement as a collective. Hearing the public comments protesting the Black Lives Matter sign at San Marin made us feel utterly disgusted and disappointed. 2 weeks ago, we sat and listened to a public comment that struck a chord with us. We had been warned that more statements like it were coming today. More expression of disapproval on the district's decision simply to post Black Lives Matter on a marquee. If we learned anything from our students, from our time as students, it is that anti-racism needs to be our biggest priority in this district. To those that disagree, we hope you acknowledge that to say that one life matters is to say that at one point those lives were treated as though they didn't. That the points that were made shows us how uneducated and ignorant some people in this community are. Thus, the reason for having that sign displayed.
Black Lives Matter should be honored as it is an act of respect to the innocent citizens all over the United States who are shedding blood due to prejudice. They aren't feeling safe. Dismissing the concerns of BIPOC folks stems from the fact that many of us don't truly know what BLM means. Black Lives Matter's main priority is to simply eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities. BLM is an affirmation of humanity. It's a dream, an expectation of safety and balance for all. The movement is also not a hate organization. It is the work to rebuild a collective system with a very distressing history. It is not an attack on any group of people. It is a retaliation to complacency, rather. So please, to those that believe the group has malicious intent, I suggest you educate yourself a bit more. Only when we truly understand the objective can we then promote dignity, justice, and respect for everyone.
It is crucial for this district as a whole to make sure that Black and Brown student voices are heard, recognized, and appreciated. My question for the people who made those public comments and for the people who will make those comments tonight: why does that sign offend you so much? Why are you not just as offended by white supremacy? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to now proceed to have the other trustees give their status reports. Maria Aguilar? Nothing? Julie Jacobs?
Hi. I just wanted to say something also in regards to the comment from last meeting. I think it is very fantastic that we live in a country where we all get to express ourselves freely. And I will take the opportunity to express that I completely disagree with all he had to say. So I wrote something I'm going to read real quick. Sorry, find my place. So I personally use the example of sex discrimination that I've experienced in my life to draw a better understanding of the feelings of discrimination that our BIPOC community members experience. I've had the pleasure of joining the District Educators of Color group and the Community Equity group as an ally. In the Community Equity Group Town Hall last weekend, I got to hear students, educators, and community members share their experience and opinions. We discussed topics like why the situation like George Floyd's murder keeps happening after generations, and how Black Lives Matter protests were treated very differently than the Capitol insurrection. I will take this time in future meetings to share insights from these groups and to share with the community the fantastic work that our students and educators are doing. I will leave you with something that a student shared. We will need you, meaning the grown-ups in our community, to be willing to be uncomfortable with these discussions about race and equity so that students can be more comfortable. Thank you.
Well, just briefly, I'm honored to be part of a district and an organization like this that's willing to talk about race whenever people need to talk about it. Discrimination is a problem, and I'm just glad that people feel free to speak up about it. And in a way, it's a form of education, and that's what we're here for. I did want to take a minute to just acknowledge all the efforts that our families and our students and everyone who works for NSUD as we enter back into the higher grades in secondary, middle school previously. I know it's a difficult time. It's awkward for everybody, but rest assured we are doing our best to do it as well as we can, and we appreciate your patience and working with us to get the schools reopened, first in a hybrid model and hopefully and eventually full time. So again, thank you, and we're doing the best we can.
Trustee Matt.
I want to thank Ava and Elizabeth for their beautiful speech there. Really nailed it, and can't disagree. I mean, can't agree more. This is a serious issue. It's a human rights issue, and really, Ava, you just nailed it. If you have a real issue, why don't you denounce white supremacy? So that's what we really need to hear from people. I want to thank Julie for saying what she said, and Derek as well. I too attended the social justice talk last week. It was moving, and every time you're exposed to these issues, you just can't help but wonder, what do we have to do? And the answer is we have to keep trying, and we have to be uncomfortable. So that's what I'm signing up to do. And I know I'm not going to be perfect every time, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to do everything I can. So, and also to touch on what Derek said, I want to thank everybody for what we did, getting the high school kids back in class along with the middle school kids. There's a lot of happy faces, more coming next week. I know people want to go faster. We are going fast. And with the combination of all the efforts that are going on here and with NFT, give them some credit too. They want to do this as well. And with all the vaccinations, I'm hoping that sooner rather than later we can get back to some form of normalcy.
I couldn't agree more with my fellow trustees and student board members on the comment that was made last week. Unacceptable. And thank you, Eva and Elizabeth, for taking a stance. And that's your student voice. Again, I always say it is so important. And you expressed that this evening. So thank you for doing that. And excited to have our 7th and 8th grade and 9th and 10th graders back. I mean, it's just a world of difference to just have them on campus for their mental health, even if it's a minimal amount of time. We're going to get there. We're going to get to a longer period of time on campus for both our elementary and middle and high. I know it's not moving as fast as everybody wants it to, but we got to do it safely, and we're going to get there. I think that's the intention of this whole district, is to get our kids fully back on campus. A couple things that I did since our last board meeting was the Model the Way Awards. Again, I always enjoy doing that. It brightens my day, even if for just a moment. I was able to review the 7-11 committee meetings just to keep myself abreast, as when that'll come before the board in May, and I just want to make sure I understand the process and everything that's happening there. Some great PowerPoints there, and I know Superintendent Koska expressed that in his weekly end of week update. But if you're interested in how we're doing in enrollment and you want a more in-depth knowledge of that, I mean, there's a 10-year graphs on there that explain a lot. The dip we are seeing this year is not, it is unusual, but we've had declining enrollment for many years. So I think it's worth your while to educate yourself and take a look at that report, and also the budget report that Yancey did in regards to declining enrollment and the pension costs to us, along with where we stand within the county as funding for education for students per student. We're at the low end of that, as most of you probably all know, but the graph clearly states that. And our parcel tax is the least one in the county as well. So educate yourself, like I said, and review that. I also was able to listen to, as I do every month, with the Marin County Public Health and Marin County Office of Education, their community update, which happened on Monday. Again, we're going into that positive direction. The vaccines are showing up. We're making progress here. They're going to hopefully vaccinate 2,000 people this weekend, all educators, and hopefully the next weekend after that. That's the plan. So we're headed in the right direction. I need everybody just to hang in there. We're going to get there. And I think it was 17,000 vaccinations this week. So it's progressing. We're seeing some great things. And then I always like to look at city council agenda whenever it's their meeting, just to make sure there's nothing on there related to NUSD. I want to know what's going on. But I was pleasantly surprised. There were a shout out to three students that are currently in our NUSD district in our high schools, and one student had graduated. They presented the youth commission. They were trying to bring back the youth commission to reinstate it under the city. Unfortunately, they didn't get to that point. They did a phenomenal job of presenting their reasoning, and they did their homework. They were well prepared, these students. I was super proud of them, knowing that they're NUSD students. And like I said, in the end, they ended up not, because basically when you becomes a commission, they have to follow the Brown Act. There's a lot of work involved and staff time, and that was really the main thing that it narrowed down. That there's not enough staff time with everything going on, and they're just as low in staff as we are. We just don't have the manpower to manage it and make it effective. So, but I just wanted to congratulate them for doing that. So that's it.
So I'm going to chime in and say to Eva and Elizabeth, very well said, well done. So thank you for speaking up with your voice. I also thought it was really interesting. I love that you did an assembly together. So I think one of the upsides to this whole COVID and virtual experience is the two schools collaborating and doing that event. So I thought that was very cool, and I wanted to mention that. My update is going to start with information regarding to our special education families. They have been sent a special education survey. It came out today. It will close on March 19th. The survey covers questions about their children's IEP and asks for perspective on children's progress and placement. It was a collaboration of some parents and staff to put that together. So I think it was well done. Looking forward to seeing the results from that. There's also a special education parents night that's scheduled for March 25th. And both those items, I believe, are being sent out to our community. So people should be looking out for that. I also attended the MCOE, Marin County Public Health webinar yesterday. I always enjoy those. There's always so much great information. One of the things that we've talked about is the vaccination clinics. I'm very excited to see those rolling out. I volunteered to work on Saturday for one, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. I don't have skills in giving shots, but I think I can do a lot of other things, so we'll see. So very excited about that. If anybody's interested, the information can be found at marinschools.org under their return to site-based instruction page. There's a ton of information there. I go there all the time to just pull down different information and figure out what's going on. The other thing I did, and I realized, I think this was a week ago, Friday, the North Marin Council PTA met with Senator McGuire. And I think there's like 5 of us maybe on that call. Always enjoy talking with him. Great. He's always direct, straight to the point. One of the things that I should also mention, his wife is a principal, so he very much understands what's going on for schools. The thing that he mentioned that was very notable, he asked about our mental health services and what we're offering. And I guess they're looking at a program whereby partnerships with school districts and nonprofit agencies and a billing method in which Medi-Cal will be billed. Anyway, I talked to Yancy a little bit, or Assistant Superintendent Hawkins a little bit about it, and our SPED department, but I think we might be capitalizing on some of the opportunity from that, but definitely interesting to hear that there might be some ways that we can save money and also get services for our kids. The 7-Eleven committee, I thought it was really well done. The piece that the part that Assistant Superintendent Hawkins presented, I would encourage people to look at that. As Trustee Butler said, there's just a lot of concrete, solid information about our financial situation, why we are where we are. I even think it's a great thing to pull out and present to the community at some point on a broader scale, but it is available on YouTube. And just in closing, I'll say my 8th grader is back in school. I'm now able to be by myself at my house. But I know it was a lot of work and effort on the part of staff and teachers, and I'm just very grateful for that.
So my comments, Elizabeth and Eva, thank you very much for taking the time. When I was your age in high school, the practice of the real estate board in the town I grew up in was to make sure Black people could not buy houses any place in town. They were restricted to one neighborhood, and it was either covenants on the property or in fact practices of the real estate agents in the community to make sure only certain people could buy certain houses. This is not a new phenomena that we should be treating everybody with the same opportunity and equality. So my hat's off to you for stepping forward and talking about this topic. In terms of the school opening, our superintendent's going to give us the status in a minute, but there's national news, there's state news, there's county news, there's local news, and it's all a little bit confusing. The good news in my mind is it's all moving in the right direction. We're moving towards getting more kids served. So I'm going to let the superintendent speak to the rest of that, but my hat's off to him for the work he's done. I got to watch him on TV at Novato High School with the mascot out there cheering as the students were returning to campus. It was a nice change from all the dour comments I get from state officials and governors and other people that are talking. So Superintendent Koska, you want to give us some information?
Yeah, thank you, President Millrick. Tonight I want to use my superintendent's report to provide the board and the community with an update regarding where we are as it pertains to enhanced hybrid learning and a full return of the students to our campus. I want to start by saying that we, as many of you have shared, we're about to meet a pretty significant milestone in that we're about to have all of our students in grades TK through 12 learning on our campuses in a hybrid model. I know there's some concerns about what that hybrid model looks like. I know there's some concerns about the pace of bringing back our students onto campus full time. Know that we are very actively working on that, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But before I dive into anything about next year, about the rest of this year, I want to say one thing crystal clear, loud and clear. We will have all of our students back on campus in full learning at the beginning of next year. That is what we're working 100% towards. We will be prepared for that. We're going to be ready, and we can't wait for that time to come. Since our board last met, we have directed our education services team to explore other districts' plans that are out there for hybrid learning at all the elementary, middle, and high school, and develop some options for what an enhanced hybrid learning model could look like if that was a direction we wanted to take. I've also asked the Novato Federation of Teachers executive team to do the same. We have scheduled 4 meetings between now and the March 16th board meeting where we're going to talk about a couple of things. First, we're going to do our best to come to agreement around what an enhanced hybrid learning model could look like, particularly at the elementary school. We came on board pretty early with the 7-hour model and are seeing other districts successfully working in models with significantly more time. And so we're going to be looking at that and hopefully coming to some agreement for what that might be able to look like. We want to explore the conditions that each party would expect in order to have a return to full on-campus learning this spring at the different levels, what it would need to look like at elementary, at middle school, and at high school, and also to prepare for the full return of students to our campuses to start the 2021 school year. We're super thrilled to have new guidance. I mean, this is one of the challenges we face is that we continue to get new guidance from our different public health agencies. We're glad that the CDC has come out with some very different guidance today that changes the narrative a little bit. We've gotten some new input from Marin County Superintendent Mary Jane Burke, and so we're working to better understand that. And we look forward to using all of that information to help us in these important upcoming decisions. Additionally, we have developed and distributed an anonymous parent survey and an anonymous teacher survey that went out earlier today. We've already received over 1,400 responses to that survey, and we're very appreciative of everybody who has responded. We look forward to seeing that go up over 2,000, 3,000, not on the teacher side, but on the parent side. And the goal of the survey is to gain perspective on how our current reentry plan is or is not meeting the needs of our students and of our families and of our teachers, and what would best meet the needs of our families and our teachers moving forward. So the input from these surveys will be very helpful to us in developing our future plans, starting on Friday when we have our next session with the Nevada Federation of Teachers. In many communities, vaccinations are a key touch point when it comes to bringing students back onto campuses and bringing them back for longer periods of time. We have spent countless hours over the last few weeks advocating for, sharing information about, and processing the logistics of getting all of our educators vaccinated, at least receiving their first dose. And we're thrilled to say that by March 6th, we are currently at about 30% of our staff having received the first dose. By March 6th, when I wrote these notes down earlier today, we anticipated that we would be at about 66% of all of our employees would have had the opportunity to receive the first dose. And I can say I'm thrilled to announce that since I wrote that down, we know that we will be significantly closer. We will be probably at 85% because Assistant Superintendent Ferrer is currently working on sending out 275 additional invitations to our team members to get vaccinated on March 6th. There will be about 100 remaining, and each of those 100 employees or other community partners will get vaccinated on March 13th, should they choose. So the good news about that is that by on or about April 3rd, every NUSD educator will have had the opportunity to receive their second, so by April 3rd, every single educator in Novato will have had the opportunity to get their second dose of their vaccine. And that means that by April 17th, they will be at maximum effectiveness of the vaccine 2 weeks after they received their vaccine. And so we anticipate that all of the work that went into achieving this important goal will aid in our discussions between NUSD and NFT going forward as it pertains to bringing students back onto campus for additional time. We look forward to providing the board and the community with further updates in the end of week communication this week, the end of week communication next week, and a very thorough report at the March 16th, 2021 board meeting. So much more to come. Appreciate the community input that we've heard, whether it's been positive or encouraging us to do something different. I know there's a ton of passion around this topic, and look forward to giving you more updates and plans in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And I just want to add one more thing. That was all about that topic. I'm so appreciative of the comments that the board has made about Black Lives Matters and our displaying that on the campus at San Marin High School, among other places, and appreciate the passion and with which our trustees have spoken and our student trustees. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you very much, Superintendent Costa. So we're gonna move. Are there any comments or questions to Superintendent Costa? No, we're gonna move on to our open agenda public comments. So we're gonna take public.
Oh, sorry, just a quick question.
Quick.
So I thank you for all the hard work that you've done and the staff and trying to get everybody in. I'm looking forward to more information. And so just to be clear, will the some of this information be given to the community, to the parents and the ones that speak Spanish? Will there'll be translation provided? And
yeah, so everything that we send out to the community is always translated.
Yeah.
So our end of week communication.
I'll always ask if I remember.
Yep.
But so besides the board on the board meeting days and the weekly communication, it'll also include our parents in the community in the weekly communication to the community.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to non-agenda public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the community for 3 minutes each to be able to speak to the board. We have 20 minutes.
20 minutes. We have 21 comments.
So we're going to go for 20 minutes. And then, okay. So at 3 minutes each, that's about 7 members are going to be able to speak. And I'll remind people that if there's If they aren't able to speak in that block of time, the board reads the written comments that are sent to the board. They are delivered to, if they're sent to the email, they get delivered to every board member in a written, in a PDF, which is sent to them electronically, which I think many of us print out and read. But it's, in any case, every board member gets written comments. So we're going to take 20 minutes now and hear the amount of, at 3 minutes each. So could I have this first speaker, please?
Hi, thank you, trustees and Superintendent Koska. My name is Veronica Zappelli, and I'm a parent to 3 NUSD students, 2 in elementary and 1 in middle school. Before I discuss reentry, I want to thank all of the teachers that have stepped up to teach our kids in person, even before vaccines were available. We appreciate you, and we hope our kids get to see more of you soon. It was great to see some momentum towards in-person instruction at the last board meeting. I'm really disappointed to see that school reentry is not a topic of discussion for tonight's meeting. It should continue to be the first topic of discussion at every board meeting until we're back in school full time. There is no agenda item that is more important than our kids' education. It's the reason you all sit in those chairs and the reason why we're all here tonight. We've been told via email that there is a plan for some sort of reentry in place, but we have no idea what that plan is or when it will be implemented. Honestly, at this point in the game, that's unacceptable. Our kids have been mostly out of the classroom for nearly a year and are struggling desperately, both academically and emotionally. I could list all the statistics, but I'm sure you've read them ad nauseum. A plan to create a plan is not enough. Talking about creating a plan is not enough. Please communicate with your families. We deserve to know what the plan for full reentry is today. We deserve to know what the timeline is for implementing that full reentry plan. And saying next year is not enough. And we deserve to know exactly what the hurdles are to implementing that full reentry plan. I think I speak for all families when I say that all we are asking for is transparency. We need hope. Our kids need hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. And was that Veronica?
Yeah.
I was trying to read her
Yes.
name. Veronica. Yeah, thank you. I'm too far away from the TV screen. Thanks, Veronica.
Hi, am I on?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. I'm trying to turn on my picture, but I can't. In any case, first off, I want to thank all of the superintendent and all of the board members and our amazing student board members for your hard work, and particularly the teachers who've done extraordinary things in a difficult year. I am also commenting on reentry. Oh, there I am. And I have 2 students. One is a 10th grader, one is a senior at Novato High School. And for my family, I feel it's imperative, and for most high school families, I'm sure that we get the high school kids back in school 5 days a week as soon as possible and for a full day. At this point in time, I'm so happy to hear the news that's come out today through the county, through the superintendent, and nationally. It all says good things. I particularly feel it's important that in the fall we are back to normal, and particularly that the curriculum is not crushed into one semester. This is incredibly stressful. The teachers, particularly with AP classes, are not able to cover the material that is required to even pass the AP tests or prepare our students effectively for state tests and other standardized tests they will need if they have any hope to attend competitive 4-year institutions. So in the modeling you're doing for the next school year, I think it's critically important that particularly for accelerated and AP classes, they do not compress a year-long curriculum into a semester. I also want to just reiterate that many students are working jobs now, either because they have to or they have a lot of extra time. It's an opportunity to earn money. And many of them are in industries that are considered essential. My son's one of them. There are literally going to be hundreds of students in our district within the next month or 2 getting vaccinated as well, because they're in the food industry or another industry that's critical. So I hope that you also factor that into some of your planning, because I think you'll be surprised how many people are going to be vaccinated before the summer even begins. Again, thank you.
And also one last thing, getting all the high school students back in with the amazing programs we have that attract people to our district is important if we want to attract and retain people for things like MSA, STEM, medical career pathways. These are experiential. They can't be really effectively done on Zoom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Kiana Bravo, and I'm a senior at Samaritan High School. I'm an active part of our campus's equity team and an activist for social change in the community. First, I'd like to say that I'm very proud that we've taken this step as a community to agree to the anti-racist resolution. With that comes upholding it. Since agreeing, I have seen nothing but performative change from the board as well as from our school administration. I have heard countless times that they are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, yet there has been no steps in that direction. If it only takes a few emails for that ounce of support to be taken down from our school's marquee, there will be no real push for change within our systemically racist school system. My question to you all is, why does uplifting oppressed voices and make yours feel oppressed? The school board needs to hold the resolution to a higher standard and do more to ensure that you guys are not bystanders at the cost and safety and inclusivity of your students of color. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Piana.
Awesome job, Kiana. Good evening, trustees. Good evening, trustees. My name is Lori Johnson. I'm a resident of Novato and a retired school nurse. I'm here to implore you to look at the data and eliminate SROs in Novato high schools. I am truly concerned about the BIPOC students in our community who suffer from fear and anxiety every day because there's a cop on campus. There's lots of evidence in the research that proves SROs are ineffective and sometimes harmful in the school environment. According to justicepolicy.org, and I quote, SROs have been linked with exacerbating racial disparities in justice involvement and youth being driven deeper into the juvenile and adult criminal justice systems. Rather than preventing crime, SROs are linked with increased arrests for non-criminal youthful behavior, commonly known as school to prison pipeline, unquote. I beg you to vote with good conscience against retaining SROs in Novato. Instead, we could better serve our students with robust wellness centers that include educated, and I underline educated, staff, for example, bilingual counselors, nurses, and social workers, to create a safe environment for all students and include a multifaceted restorative justice program that does not include school resource officers. Maybe you should listen to your students' opinions about SROs like you are for the BLM sign. Show that you really agree about racism in our community. Bravo to Eva, Elizabeth, and Trustee Julie for their BLM comments. Wow, there is hope for our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Good evening. My name is Eric Zamarki. Can you hear me?
I hear Christina on the sign.
Yeah, it's Eric, her husband.
Yeah, we hear you.
Hey, Eric.
Good evening. Eric Zamarki, thank you for letting me speak tonight on behalf of resuming full-time in-person learning. I have 4 kids, 3 of which are in the hybrid model at Pleasant Valley. My wife and I are both public safety essential workers on 24-hour shifts. My purpose is to persuade you to approve full-time in-person learning by taking you through one of my days and examining the financial, emotional, and social impacts. First, we moved to the PV district with the hope to improve our kids' academic future. PV has great assets, but aren't being taken advantage of with 8 hours of face-to-face learning a week. It hasn't made the difference we had hoped. Regardless, when I get home from my 24-hour shift, my wife has already started hers, and our expensive caregiver has prepared the kids for school. Then it's me versus 3 Zoomers simultaneously. Commonly, the day starts with my kindergarten twins immediately fiddling around and staring off into space while I constantly remind them to pay attention. My first grader is by herself in another room, not only to prevent distraction, but prevent audio feedback and Wi-Fi interference. My kindergartners generally sit back with minimal interaction. If they did decide to interact, they undoubtedly would be cut off by the constant shout outs and blurting out of answers. Anxiety, fatigue, and frustration are rampant. By the end of the day, I feel like I've been turned inside out. I do my best to provide the basics for the family, but feel like I'm coming up short. I'm not looking for free babysitting, but I need someone to meet me and hold up their end of the deal. It's unsustainable for my family to work 2 jobs, half of 3 teachers' jobs, and provide the life we envision for our family. The financial, emotional, and social impact isn't commensurate with the risk of full-time in-person learning. The evidence is clear from the CDC to the governor that it is safe. Our kids have the right to a free and equal education. Full-time in-person learning is the only path to reach that goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Hi there, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jack Parna-Wolf, and I'm a teacher's aide at Brandeis Marin in San Rafael. I'm also on the Tam High School District Racial Justice Task Force. I'm calling tonight to urge you all to remove school resource officers from the NUSD schools. San Rafael and Tam District have also been in this process of navigating these relationships with SROs, and I invite you all to reach out to administrators in those districts for support in this process. I sympathize with feeling overwhelmed by the great deal of work it will take to change the culture of our school systems, but what we can't do is diminish or ignore the harm that has been caused to BIPOC students on our campuses. To pretend that this harm has not already been caused, or that the students who are most affected by SRO's presence on campus are overreacting, is a clear indication of which students this district is prioritizing. Just because some students may feel comfortable with police presence on campus does not invalidate the trauma that other students have experienced at the hands of police. There is also no indication that SROs on campuses actually make them safer. So by keeping SROs on campus, this district is directly participating in the school to prison pipeline, despite whatever feel-good stories we want to tell ourselves about SRO student interactions. I appreciate the efforts that the district has made to create restorative justice roles on campus, and I urge you all to expand your use of restorative practices in dealing with student discipline. Don Carney and his team at Youth Transforming Justice do some awesome restorative work with the Marin Youth Court, and if you have not already, I encourage you to attend a hearing. When students actually have agency and community in their discipline process, we create a culture of healing at our schools that cannot be achieved with cops. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Hello, this is Heidi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Heidi.
Thank you. Sorry, my Zoom just disappeared. I don't know what happened. My name is Heidi, and I am the parent of a San Marin student. I really wanted to thank Eva, Elizabeth, and Kiki for your powerful words and your commitment to respond to the disrespectful comments that were made at the February meeting that were not in alignment with our district's values of innovation, collaboration, caring, inclusion, and equity, and we're definitely not in alignment with our equity imperative and our anti-racist resolution. Tonight, I'd like to respond to those comments that have been made to the board, and I know they're being made in the community as well, regarding the display of the Black Lives Matter sign on the electronic announcement boards at schools. Many community members do support this statement, and it is in alignment with our values, especially our values of caring, equity, and inclusion. This board has seen and acknowledged the data that shows that our schools are still producing inequitable outcomes for Black and Brown children, as evidenced by suspension and expulsion rates and referrals to alternative schools. I propose we leave the Black Lives Matter message up at least until we can prove that our schools in Novato are set up in a way that allows every student to thrive and reach their full potential. After all, this is a movement that started with a hashtag proclaiming that Black Lives Matter when a man who murdered 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was acquitted. Trayvon Martin was a child, a student, a son, and a friend. 3 Black women in despair started the movement to affirm that Trayvon's life mattered, their lives matter, and the lives of other Black people who look like them matter, even though the acquittal said that they do not. Clearly, this makes people uncomfortable. We've been socialized in the United States to expect white to be the norm. It is the dominant culture. Any move toward justice also scares people who benefit from the status quo, and they will fight to hold on to the benefits they receive or perceive they have. I invite them to imagine why the statement that Black Lives Matter bothers them so much. My friend Kim, who's scheduled to speak later, says, mattering is a pretty low bar. I invite you to lean into your values and desire for every student to reach their full potential and not be dissuaded by people who value their own comfort over doing what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Ooh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hi. Hi, thanks. I'm Wes Swedlow. I'm a teacher at San Marin High School. We saw George Floyd murdered under the knee of a police officer last summer, and we were shocked. Certainly, we should be shocked, but not simply because this terrible act was committed, but because here we are again and again and again. And so the school year started, even in my classroom, with Zoom bombs, where young people thought it was funny to say horribly racist things in the classroom. In response, San Marin posted a simple fact on its marquee: Black Lives Matter. But it's not a fact in a country where Black lives are treated as if they don't. So it's a plea, a demand, yet again, for mere justice, a low bar, as was just said. And then the sign disappeared. Some people were upset by the sign. They said all lives matter. If all lives really matter, we wouldn't have this conversation in the first place. But the message seems to have mattered so much that the sign was removed. So it appears. And what does it say? That we can't post a simple message about Black Lives Mattering without people becoming outraged. And what terrible message is sent when we respond to that outrage with either the reality or the appearance of compliance? And what's the difference when no one's talking about it? The board passed an anti-racism proclamation, which is a good start. The bare minimum we can do is to say quite publicly that we firmly believe that Black Lives Matter. And if we wish to take that sign down, then it ought to be the result of a community discussion. I had to learn about it from one of my students who noticed the sign was gone. One is left to wonder what we're really teaching our students, especially our students of color, about the value, the humanity of Black lives when simple proclamations of justice are quietly removed in the name of fear. Keep the sign up and tell the public why you're doing it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Wes.
Can I just, or do you want to say something? I just wanted to add that it was just, I don't know if it's appropriate.
We're not supposed to, unfortunately, we're not supposed to respond to non-agenda public comment by rule. So we would be violating the Brown Act if we were to do so. If you were to direct me to communicate with the public about why the scheduled removal of the sign by the staff at San Marin happened, then I could put something out about that, but I shouldn't talk about it here in non-agenda public comment.
Thank you.
Sorry, Katie.
Okay, sorry, just want to make sure I can start. Okay, last night I saw Superintendent Koska on the news. He made a comment about being happy to teach others how to pioneer the reopening process for area schools. He also made comments about spending the weeks ahead meeting with teachers for negotiations. You know what Mr. Koska didn't mention? He never mentioned the kids. Not once did he reference the needs of the students. First, there have been plenty of pioneers before you. Your failure to only measure our success by comparing NUSD to other schools in our area is short-sighted. You could look at schools across the country and the world who are prioritizing our kids and doing it well and safely. I have numerous family and friends throughout the country in similar districts to ours who are in school every day, full-time, without issue. Some of them in cold winter climates where they can't even be outside or open windows for extra ventilation. They are succeeding with far fewer accommodations, and most notably, they are staying healthy. The only real difference I see between them and between us is they put the kids first, and you have not. And who exactly wants to learn from us? The data posted by the Marin County Office of Education yesterday shows Novato schools having some of the lowest in-person hours in all of Marin. It would seem we should be trying to learn from them. The New York Times reported today that only 4% of the nation's school children live in counties where virus transmission is low enough for full-time in-person learning for all grades K through 12. Marin County is among that 4%. And yet here we stand, identified as one of the safest places in the United States to open schools, and we still have students who have not set foot on campus. The NUSD board has acknowledged they can move forward right now with reopening schools with or without the teachers union in alignment. The teachers union has said repeatedly that they will go back when NUSD tells them to. If both of these are true, why are you spending the next 2 weeks in meetings? What is there to discuss? Surely you can see why parents have lost confidence and trust in both the unions and the district. Parents know you both have the ability to come together to put the critical well-being of our kids at the top of the priority list, and it's clear that is not happening. Please stop taking credit for middle and high school kids being back on campus. The only reason our middle and high school kids are back is because parents got fed up waiting for action, and we let our voices be heard. We flooded you with emails, staged a demonstration, and got the media to report on it. You didn't even have it on the agenda last month until we begged and pleaded with you to add it. Then you assured us at the last meeting that it would be on the agenda at every meeting going forward, and here we are again being pushed weeks down the road. Finally, to add insult to injury, our trustees will not be talking about getting kids back to school, but will be voting tonight on a proposal to spend over $32,000 on marketing to stop the flood of kids leaving the district. The proposal aims at getting kids who have left to return and to guard the back door to avoid losing more. You don't need me to tell you that these optics aren't good. You won't discuss sensible and proven ways to return our kids to more robust learning, but you will discuss wasting more money on marketing. There are really no words for me to express my disappointment, frustration, and lack of confidence in our leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right at 3 minutes. Good. We're done?
Yep. That was 20 minutes.
We're finished with our 20-minute time. If other members would like, of the community would like to communicate to the board and the superintendent, email, and those will all be read. And then the next board meeting, there'll be, as the superintendent has said, a full update on our reopening plans, including all the new information that comes out from multiple levels, additional vaccines, additional national news, additional local news, additional state news, a lot of news. So I look forward to the meeting in 2 weeks where we have more information. With that, we're going to move past public, non-agendized public comment and do the discussion action. We still have a lot of work to get done at this evening's board meeting. The next item is the approval of the single plans for student achievement for secondary schools. These are actions the board must take in order to keep our schools operational. So I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Koska, and we can introduce our academic staff to review these with the board.
All right. Thank you.
Sir.
This is always an exciting night. It's one of the few chances we get to hear from about half of our principals. All of our secondary principals tonight are at the 2 middle schools and at the 3 high schools. And so really look forward to hearing from them. Sorry that they can't be here in the building with their big presentation like we usually do, but we'll do the best we can tonight. With that, I'll turn it over to Interim Assistant Superintendent Larson.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here tonight. So before we get started on looking at the individual school plans and introducing each of our principals, I want to just spend a few minutes reminding the group about where our goals are and giving some of the overview and setting some context for those goals that are district-wide. As we move through our SIPSAs tonight, you're going to be seeing examples of all 3 of our goals for the individual school, but know that there is so much consistency between. We wanted to make sure that we really targeted some of those broad goals and where our district is as a whole before we start those off. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, there we go. All right. Are you able to see my PowerPoint? Or are you still looking at our?
No, we see your PowerPoint.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so just to set our context, we have 3 goals here in Nevada Unified School District. The first is culture of caring, then culture of competence, and culture of excellence. So as we move forward and we're thinking about these SIPSs and where our schools have made progress over the last year, we're going to be keeping in the back of our minds these 3 cultures. So the first is our culture of caring, and as a district where we really used our metrics for measuring where we were in building that culture was in our absenteeism and our rates of suspensions. As you've heard quite a bit over the last year, specifically, 2 of the biggest areas where we've wanted to make some improvement is ensuring that all of our students that are considered a part of our at-promise groups, that is our student groups that include our African American students, our foster youth, our homeless youth, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged youth, ensuring that their absentee rates decrease. But then also we want to make sure that we are looking at our suspension rates and looking for decreases in suspensions and increases in alternatives to suspension. And in Nevada, we've really put a lot of effort into building a very robust restorative practices program. As you can see, these are the 3 action items for our absenteeism. The increase in restorative practices, as I mentioned, the embedded social emotional wellness. We've seen those programs at all of our schools. You've heard about our Nevada High's wellness program. You've heard about some of the social emotional curriculum at different schools. And this is all in support of increasing our culture of caring. And then increased mental health services. As you can see in reporting from 2017 to 2020, we have been effective in decreasing our chronic absenteeism and our truancyism. And so when you're looking at our schools data today, you'll see some evidence of that and what it looks like on their campuses. Similarly, we've seen similar drops in our total suspensions and the days of suspension, significantly in the total days. A big part of that, or a big reason for that, is the diversion to restorative justice. And you can see the increase of our restorative practices, the use of that over the years. Our second goal, culture of competence, really means we want to make sure that all of our students have access to the resources and supports they need to be successful. As we know, every student needs something different, and we need to be able to have differentiated services and supports to ensure that each student has the ability to reach their potential. We've been working really hard with our schools to build a district-wide multi-tiered system of support. Our multi-tiered system support really looks at the supports that we have in place, both for our culture of caring and our culture of excellence. So the social emotional well-being of our students and the academic proficiency of our students. This MTSS support has been designed to support the entire system, and each school can then differentiate what the tools are and what the supports are that they have within their individual school. In addition, in order to have a robust MTSS system, we need data. And this has been one of our major focuses for this year, which is the collection and the analysis and the tight data cycles within our organization. As you know, we've had an alternative way of measuring student growth because we don't have CAS scores, because our dashboard has been fluctuating because of the COVID and the remote learning. We've brought in multiple different data types to make sure that we have data to track our students' growth. The majority of our data is coming in 2 forms. Pardon me, go there. The first is through Galileo. So we implemented a universal screener. We give this screener 3 times a year. This is similar to MWEA MAP in that it allows us to see students' general progress towards standards mastery on grade level material. In addition to that, we've been working hard on our proficiency-based education and our proficiency scales, and that allows us to have similar tools and definitions for what progress looks like and what excellence looks like, and the data from that to be able to measure where growth is and where supports need to be. As you can see here, this is just kind of a first look at our mid-year growth from the beginning of our students' Galileo data. And then just a reminder that our data matters is our solution to make sure that we have one place where all of our data is, and we can really look at a snapshot of any student on any given day and capture the information both for their social emotional wellness, their supports, their academic supports, and their achievement. Back to our development of our MTSS, I think our most proud accomplishment this year was to have finally created a collective definition for what MTSS is and identified our inventory of what supports belong in Tier 1, Tier 2, and moving up to Tier 3. We have a leadership team that comes together on a monthly basis and is supported by the Education Services team and Education Trust West to work with us to ensure that the steps are taken to have this robust system. And then also we're very proud of having our adopted English language learner master plan and working towards the goals that we have achieved and, or pardon me, we have set up and hope to achieve in our master plan. All right, goal 3, our culture of excellence. As you know, our goal is to articulate proficiency-based education and have a system-wide structure that allows for our students to have consistent expectations and guides for proficiency across the board. The goals for this year have been to operationalize our essential standards and to make sure that we have proficiency scales by the end of this year that are adopted by the board that we can move forward with to help define what proficiency looks like. These tools not only help ensure that our teachers can collaborate and have common language, but it also gives us, again, those markers for us to collect data that is consistent from year to year, from school to school, and allows us to start looking at our grading practices and our common assessment tools. This year, we can say that our essential standards are well in place. We have them in every subject area and every grade level. We have some work to do in a couple of our high school electives and some of those very specialized courses. But all of our content, our core content areas and grade levels do have their essential standards established. In addition to that, you can see over on this slide one of the very exciting documents that our elementary schools put together, and we have similar tools for our secondary in the works, is a consistent what's expected for trimester 1, trimester 2, trimester 3. In our high schools, semester 1, semester 2 will look very similar, so that again, not only do we have consistent expectations, but there are some expectations about the timelines and the scope and sequence of our courses. In addition to that, every one of these essential standards now has a proficiency scale, and I'm very proud to say that we have an ongoing feedback loop where our teachers are giving us feedback day to day as they're using these tools and piloting them so that we can really make sure by the end of this school year that those scales are representative of every single teacher's voice and every single student who has put their fingers on them. So we're excited to continue to collect those and bring those to you later in the spring. Last but not least, we were able to, this is just an example of a proficiency scale. Last but not least, we have been able to shift our elementary report card, which you know, it now has our essential standards broken out, academics on one side and our 6 Cs on the other. One of the things that came up for us over the last couple of years is making sure that we don't lose track of our 6 Cs. Each of those 6 Cs does in fact have a rubric, but we are also in the progress now of having those tools match our proficiency scales so that our teachers are equipped with similar tools, similar language across the system for both our 6 Cs, so our college career skills, and our academic proficiency. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to the schools. This is the part everybody wants to hear, is how have our schools been doing? What have they been doing that is very unique, and their take on these 3 goals and the achievement that their schools have been making over this year. So we're going to go through these, starting with middle school, just in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with Debbie Richardson from San Jose Middle School. Thank you for being here, Debbie.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks for doing that great setup. You've really captured the work that we've been trying to do throughout the whole system and at San Jose Middle School. We at San Jose Middle School inspire and empower each other to be lifelong learners, community builders, and change makers. And that's been our mission statement for a while. And we continue to help students and staff to live up to that mission. That's not the slide I'm expecting. There it is. Thank you. So one of the things that Ms. Larson did bring up is the fact that the data that we're collecting is a little bit odd. Now, we don't have the standard kinds of data that we've been using. And we were really banking on taking a look last year at our Youth Truth Survey results. And we were actually disappointed to see that we didn't get the bounce that we'd expected, because we had put all of these things in place. Some of the things that we were really proud about were our Avid Excel program for long-term English language learners to prepare them for high school to be ready to take advanced coursework and move forward in their academic careers. We had that going, and we were taking that school-wide. We did a lot of work our culture of caring with our web program. We revitalized that with a new team of teachers, and we were able to keep it going all year long, trying to provide our sixth graders with opportunities to interact with eighth graders in a mentoring kind of relationship. And we changed our schedule so that we could have an advisory period, which was highly directed in that we were developing curriculum, SEL curriculum among the staff and delivering that weekly to our students. But what we noticed is we didn't get the bounce that we thought we would. And so it really pointed out for us this year that what we're going to need to do is to be more deliberate about data gathering and data analysis. So even though we didn't get the bounce we wanted, it did set us up for the year. So if you'd like to go on to the next slide. Actually, can we go to the who we are slide, the vision, mission, demographic slide? Thank you. So San Jose Middle School is a school that has been changing over the years, and I brought this up last year, and I think it's worthwhile to note that our composition is changing, and we are growing in our numbers of English language learners and newcomers, and it continues. And so we have to become a little more flexible in how we deal with the needs of those students and make sure that we're meeting them where they are. We're happy with our reduction in suspension, although it is coming off a little bounce in 18-19 school year, and we were able to reduce chronic absenteeism in 19-20. So we were within our goals there, but we have some stronger goals for years going forward. So in the culture of caring, we're looking for student engagement, and we're really focusing on leadership opportunities for students with our new Latinos Unidos group that's going to be a leadership organization, an engine for leadership for Latino students on campus. We have been working hard on the tedious and difficult task of streamlining and documenting our procedures for attendance so that we can be more effective in our interventions. And we have been using our restorative justice skills, the excellent support provided by the district office and our teachers who are trained in these skills. And additionally, we revamped and rewrote our entire discipline policy and reformatted it as a expectations for success. So all of that work was done in 19-20. So for the culture of competence, we are developing a tier 1 intervention and some strategies. We're especially honing in on reading skills for sixth graders. So that's a cycle of inquiry that we are setting up and planning for the end of this year and early next year. And we already talked about the tutorial period. And with the culture of excellence, we are standing behind the efforts of the district, and we have a really good teacher leadership team working towards proficiency-based teaching. The data that's calling us to action is really this youth truth data, as I discussed. We're not seeing the response from our students, so we need to hear a better and deeper student voice. We did not redesignate as many students as we had hoped. We lost the spring semester for testing. So we're hoping for a big bounce in this year as we come back to school and do more effective LPAC testing with our students. We are seeing students that are having more Fs than we would like to have, certainly way more than we had hoped from last year. So that is an area of intervention for us finishing up this school year and starting next school year. So if we have to think about what are our key items, the Avid Excel elective has been excellent. It is a wonderful program. The teachers that we've trained for Avid strategy school-wide will be training again over the summer, and we will be adding to their number. English 3D has been implemented for ELD 3, and we maintain our robust CCT instruction for ELD 1 and 2, which is a heavily grammar-based program. So this leads us to a goal of 80% of EL students demonstrating one level of growth per year, and 50% of our level 4, the highest level ELs, redesignated each year. We're working to improve our youth truth scores, And we are doing this cycle of inquiry around reading support in the 6th grade. And all of this leads us to the need to really institute a school data team to guide data gathering and analysis. And that work is beginning at the end of this year and will continue into next year.
All right, well, thank you very much, Debbie. And I'm going to just ask of the board, usually at this time when we're in person, there's some time for questions in between. I don't know if you would like to pause in between each presentation for that, or if you'd like to do questions all at the end.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. So thank you, Debbie. And Jeff Wallace is here to introduce Sinaloa and the Spartans.
Good evening, board, and thank you for having me here tonight. Before we start, I just want to, take this moment to thank our teachers for all the hard work that they've done this year. We could not have a culture of caring, a culture of excellence, any of those things without our teachers that are doing all this hard work for our school. So I just want to start by thanking them, especially with the return of our 7th and 8th graders and all the hard work they've put into that. So I think it would be, important to point that out before we start this session. But if you want to go on to the next slide. So at Sinaloa Middle School, we strive every day to improve, to close that opportunity gap for our underrepresented students and to improve the academic and social outcomes for all of our students. So we want to really focus in on those students that are underrepresented, but we also want to, not forget about any student and make sure that all of our students are having the opportunity to improve their academic and social outcomes. I put this slide in here just to point out that one of the misconceptions oftentimes about Sinaloa Middle School is that we don't have socioeconomically disadvantaged kids or a lot of EL students, and that is just not true. We do have a significant number of our students, almost a third, who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have many EL students at our school, and we work really hard to serve those students. And so, this slide just kind of represents a slice of what our student body looks like at Sinaloa Middle School. We have a very diverse school, and with that comes a lot of diverse needs. And so we work really hard to make sure we serve all the students at our school. So in our culture of caring, which I think you will see, as our Youth Truth Survey data from this year will show that our students feel very comfortable, happy at our school site. We are working with our Youth Leadership Initiative, our leadership program, our teachers and our staff to constantly work on improving those metrics on our Youth Truth Survey from our students on those questions on school culture. And, it's been working. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen significant growth in those percent positives in the areas of mental health, relationships, and culture in our students. And so one of our goals this year was to continue to show growth over the past 3 years and to make sure that we are at least meeting or exceeding the Novato average in that area. And we've definitely done that. And so I'm just really proud again of our staff for all the hard work that they've put in to make that happen. The chart below will kind of show some of that growth. So last year, in the question on the Youth Truth Survey, where you ask the students to summarize the degree to which they feel welcome at their school and have collaborative relationships with their classmates, you can see we rose from about the 55th percentile in 2019 to the 81st percentile last year. And I believe this year the data shows an even further increase in that data. So again, I think that's a testament to the hard work of our teachers and staff and all the time we put in the professional development meetings and the work of our ASB program to build up that question. This is just a little more data just to show you. You can look at the, if you look at the trend data on the right or left-hand side of that chart there, it shows pretty much in every category for students that we showed growth last year in the Youth Truth Survey. So a lot of the things that we're doing do seem to be working, and we want to just, what we wanted to do is continue the work that we've done and build off that. And again, the Youth Truth data that we just got back last week shows that growth has continued even during the pandemic, which is even more impressive. So, just some great work there in the culture of caring. For our culture of competence, we wanted to work on really focusing in on the students that need the extra support And so what we found when we looked at the data is that there was a group of students that needed support in reading specifically, that they were reading 2 or more years below grade level. So a 6th grader that's reading at a 3rd or below grade level. And we found that those students really were struggling in class because they just could not read and access the material. So we implemented this year 4 sections of reading intervention, which are serving about 40 to 60 students per year. We're using the Fontes and Pinnell reading intervention program for that, and it's been working very well. The kids that are participating in it are showing tremendous growth in their reading ability. Our goal is to move them up at least 1 grade level in 1 semester. So that has been working, and we're continuing to do that. And we also created an EL math support class for our English language learners who are struggling in math. And we did that through the purchase of a Dreambox math software, which is a visual-based software. So it tries to take as much of the language barrier out of the math so that we can teach the kids the math concepts and not let the language barrier interfere. For our culture of excellence, we wanted to create some new programs this year to extend learning and provide unique opportunities for our students. And so 2 of the things we did, one of our goals was to expand our advanced math offerings to more students and also to encourage a more diverse group of students in those math classes. So what we found when we looked at the data was that unfortunately, we did not have very many underrepresented students in the advanced math classes. And I did not think that was right. We needed to work on that and fix that. And so what we did was we were able to, through working with our teachers and with our district office staff and all the groups that were involved in that, to be able to expand our advanced math offerings to more students. So we actually increased the number of kids in our advanced 7th grade compacted math class. We doubled the number of students who are taking that class. And we worked really hard by looking at the data to find, we went out and found students that could participate in that class, and all those students are being successful. So it's worked really well. And then we've also created and enhanced our design course by adding a laser cutter, 3D printer, and other tech advancements to that class to create a unique experience for students. And we've also expanded our drama program that we've expanded it now to 7th graders. And next year, we hope to expand it to all grades. So just to give our kids more opportunities to have some unique experiences at our school. So yeah, so basically what we've done is a lot of mindset work with our teachers during PD. We've empowered our staff and teachers to make decisions and lead the way. We as administrative team try to treat our staff with respect and ensuring that their needs are met, hoping that if the staff feels respected, that they will pass that on to our students, which we found to be true. We just work really hard on communicating with our students and families, adding those support classes and structures for kids who need it, and just expanding and extending more learning opportunities for all students.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. And Kess is already here and ready to go. So I will hand it over to you. Hi there.
Hi, good evening, trustees. And I would just like to thank the board for taking the time to read both the Marin Oaks and Nova single plans. Tonight, I will be focusing on Marin Oaks, but I do just want to acknowledge Nova for just a minute because Nova did such a remarkable job of transitioning from on-site learning to remote learning. It was a smooth transition because of the way that we meet with our kiddos. And this year we found that we have a lot more elementary students because the students that have come over to us have preferred us just because of the online all-day format is not working for them. And that one-to-one once a week seems to be a better fit for the students that have come over. So I believe that Nova continues to be our district's hidden gem. So thank you. Okay, first, the next slide, please. Here you see a snapshot of our demographics at Marin Oaks from February of this school year. We currently have 68 students and have served a total of 99 students so far. We've graduated 11 and since the beginning of school, and we have 4 students that have transferred over to adult education. We continue to have a larger male population with 81% males this school year. And we also continue to have a disproportionate number of students of color. As you can see, we have only 20% white students, 61.8% Latinx, and 7.4% African American. Next slide, please. So here you see that we have 43% of our students have met or exceeded standards on the Galileo Assessment from the beginning of the school year. You'll notice that there is actually a decline, a significant decline to 31% for the middle of the school year, and that's this year. It's important to note that we have a large transient population, so it's not comparing apples to apples. So at Marin Oaks, we always have to just look at the individual growth, not the school as a whole. And then math just continues to be a challenge for our students. We were unable, because of the pandemic, to take the CAS last year, but the 2 years prior, we had 0% meet or exceed standards on the CAS. However, we did have this year 30.8% demonstrated that they met or exceeded readiness in algebra, and 20% in geometry on the mathematics diagnostic test. And what that basically means is that the students have the knowledge to have success in the math course that they're currently placed in. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's our Youth Truth Survey. This is pre-pandemic, and as you can see, the results demonstrate that our students, our staff, our parents overall are pleased with the Marin Oaks in most areas. An area of development is academic rigor, and in all other key ratings, Marin Oaks rated at the top of the percentile. We believe that this is attributed to our positive school culture and our wraparound services for all of our students. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so following in line with the district goals of culture of caring, culture of competence, and culture of excellence, Marin Oaks focused on the same 3 goals. At Marin Oaks, we demonstrate the importance of caring by valuing student voice, practicing inclusivity, and building healthy relationships with students each and every day. This year has been incredibly challenging to create that same positive culture remotely. Students have been struggling. We miss the synergy of that human physical interaction and just sharing physical space. We have invited students since September to be part of the Learning Hub, and that has helped provide a high level of support. And then in today's climate with the racial divide and the need for an anti-racist curriculum, I am super pleased to announce that we did start teaching an ethnic studies course in January of this year. And so far the class has been well received from the students. We had a really powerful speaker last week, and then, or I'm sorry, this week, and then right before break. And then during the pandemic, we have seen an increase in anxiety, depression, and just overall our students feel overwhelmed in general. So we've put a ton of extra support systems in place. Yeah. And then how are we holding ourselves accountable during remote learning? We have a support team that is tracking data and making connections beyond the classroom. We have continued our enrichment classes. So for instance, our culinary class, I'm super proud of our students and our teacher. Pre-pandemic, they would cook in our kitchen, and then they would feed the entire school every Friday. And our teacher quickly adapted, and what he did is he took home, or he created a curriculum where he buys all of the ingredients, all of the supplies for all of the students in the class, individually packs them up, leaves it at the front office, and then the students or their parents come and pick up the package, and then they come in via Zoom, and they cook remotely every Thursday and feed their family. So I'm really proud of everybody that's involved in that. We have expanded our partnership and are working with the local company, Novato Inspiration, who's helping our Bridges students prepare for workforce, and now offering tips regarding remote interviews. So proper lighting, strong Wi-Fi, making sure that they're dressed appropriately, at least from the top up. And then we offer 2 College of Marin courses during our school day, and currently have all of our Bridges students enrolled in a hospitality management course every Friday. Over 50% of our students meet with the BACR, Bay Area Community Resource counselor remotely. And then other support systems in place include tutorial. We still offer tutorial. We have remote job shadows in the Learning Hub since September, as I shared before. And the Learning Hub is for students who have either difficulties with remote learning or they have spotty Wi-Fi. And then the last slide, please. And so in closing, while the pandemic has created many obstacles, I am so proud of our staff and students and their ability to adjust. This final slide is a photo of one of our 2020 grads and his family. Our Hill drive-through graduation was one to absolutely remember. And it was almost fitting that we had an alternative graduation for our alternative schools. And so again, while I wasn't able to focus on Nova, it is important to note that both of our schools, Marin Oaks and Nova, have a variety of interventions available to help our students find success. The entire Hill staff continues to work hard to be inclusive, and we have created a strong sense of belonging for our staff and students alike. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. And we've got Mark is already here. So Mark Brewer, your turn to introduce the SIPSA for Novato High School. Thanks for being here. Oh, you're on mute.
It helps if I unmute. So great to be here. Good evening, President Millerick, members of the Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Koska. I appreciate the opportunity to present some of our improvement we've been seeing at Novato High this past year. So since I arrived 2.5 years ago, we're still focused on the same 3 goals: culture of caring, proficiency-based education, and multi-tiered systems of support. You can see kind of the areas we've broken out under each of those, and we're progressing in each of those areas as we've moved forward the last 2.5 years. I got some 3-year data trends for you to see. You can see our attendance definitely made some improvement over the last 3 years, which we're really pleased with. We were super fortunate last year. I was able to move up CASP to the first 2 days of testing. So 2 days before we left, due to the pandemic, our students tested. We tested 96% of our students over 2 days, and we got a great bump in math and English in proficiency. And you can see there over the trend of the 3 years, our students continue to improve around CASP. Also, our graduation rate, that's been excellent improvement since I arrived. We're now at 95.3%, which is a very good graduation rate. Super pleased with all the work our entire staff, counselors, school registrar, and everybody has done to get those kinds of results. I'm also really pleased with the work our staff did around CASP, because it's the teachers that truly make the difference in student learning, and they've been doing a tremendous job. As you can see, our suspension rate, it hung kind of steady. That suspension rate cut off right when we went to virtual Zoom and out of school learning. And of course, since then, our suspension rate has been 0, which is really good. So we're looking forward to having students back on campus. And over the last 2 days, things have gone really well as we've reintroduced them to the campus. So next slide. This is really good data. We got this snapshot. This is the Galileo Assessment, showing the number of students meeting standards or exceeding standards. This is after 7 months of online learning and also summer break in between in that 7 months. So we're super pleased with, again, our staff's ability to not only engage students in student learning, but actually demonstrate results that mirror CASP and other assessments. It's a great indicator that we did not lose a lot of learning in English language arts up to the point of around November. We also have another snapshot that we just took because we did Galileo again just recently, and it mirrors very closely to this. We dipped a little in some of the categories, but the fact our seniors are at 82% was pretty outstanding and pretty impressive. So again, if you get a chance, thank the teachers at Novato High, because they're making this happen in an online environment, and it's pretty impressive. I was also able to pull some data. It's really hard to find the national average data, but I was able to get it from 2019, and it gives a comparison on the right of our students' performance last year on both the SAT and ACT. And as you can see, Novato High students are certainly at a competitive advantage entering college due to the learning they've picked up at Novato High. We well exceed the national average in all categories. So super proud of that work, again, and our teachers' work to get students to this point. This slide was, the administrative team's done a lot of work the last 2.5 years to rebuild trust and rebuild the culture with our teachers at Novato High. This is our youth truth data. Kind of shows a snapshot of the last 3 years of how teacher attitudes are towards administrators and working with us, and how they feel about being at Novato High. And you can see we've definitely made some significant gains. So I'm really proud of the administrative team I work with, and the fact that our teachers have reached out and started developing trust and really partnering with us around student learning and how to make Novato High a better place for students. And the last slide is, of course, wellness. 2.5 years ago, we didn't really have anything around wellness, and now we have pretty robust, well-developed wellness campus. This slide shows kind of the 3 areas and levels that's related to MTSS. We have some wellness strategies that go across all students at level 1. You can see those there. And then we also have some more focused strategies when students need more support. That's our level 2 MTSS. And we also have great community partners that provide intensive therapy and other needs when it's needed at level 3 for students. And I also shared with Jen and Ellen a really nice flyer that kind of encompasses the wellness program and shows you in a readable format. You can read through and see everything we're doing around our wellness campus efforts. And the focus of the wellness campus is really improve wellness, not only for students, but for the adults at Novato High. So super good job for our wellness team. And so I couldn't be more proud of the students and staff at Novato High. We've had an exceptional year, and our data continues to reveal that students are headed in the right direction.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. And as I move over, I don't see Mark Sims on here yet. So I just want to make sure that he's not in a weight room or another place. But as we're looking into that, does the board have any questions for any of us that have presented thus far?
Questions for Trustee Butler.
Hi, Jen. My question is in regards to with COVID, we know that there's going to be some learning loss and mental health is high as well. Unfortunately, those are 2 negatives. Are we, with our systems in place, are we prepared for the heightened awareness of that coming if we go back to, as we move into full students on campus, and now we have students on campus a few days a week? Are we, I feel like the systems we have in place, we're pretty set.
Yeah. We have pretty strong systems in place, and we've certainly looked at how we need to increase those over the next year, really, as we bring students back in a more full setting. And so, yes, I think our systems in place, I think especially around the social emotional wellness of our students, we actually have not seen much academic decline in comparison to some of our neighboring districts. And so our teachers have really gone above and beyond to engage our students, to reach out, to find very creative and innovative ways to make sure students are continuing to grow in their education. But we will certainly have a much more extensive summer program. We're looking at summer bridges, so some short bridge programs, especially in math and language arts. We're going to be expanding our English language learner services and assessments over the summer. And we're also going to be looking at some more experiential as we get students back in person, just to start looking and honing their students, their social skills, their just being back in a school, learning skills, so that our students will really feel comfortable, confident, and ready to jump back in. So I think we have the systems. I think we are hopeful that we will have those resources in the near future. And I certainly know that our staff is ready to support those needs.
Thank you.
So I just had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Sims. He's on his way in to join the meeting. I think it was a link issue, so he should be here any second.
Going to physically arrive in this room?
No, the Zoom room.
Oh, the Zoom room. Okay.
Yeah.
A different room, and then he was Kessa, but now he's Mark, and so I think we're ready to go.
Good.
So we'll pause on questions. Thank you for helping out, Kessa and Chris, and Mark. I'm going to hand it over to you if you're ready.
I'm ready. Sorry about the snafu. Let's see.
No worries. There's no shortage of snafus when we're doing this on Zoom. Can you see my screen?
I can. Can you see me on camera?
Yep, we got you.
On camera. You ready to go?
I apologize that you have to look at me on camera, but here we go.
All right. And I'll navigate the slides. If I'm going too slow, you just let me know.
No worries. Thank you, trustees, Superintendent Koska, and Jen. Thank you for all the help. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Jen, ready for the next slide. So here are 3 goals under the NUSD Overarching Goals, a culture of caring, which our focus has been last year and continuing on restorative practice. And we want to look at that not only in what some might view as discipline terms, but also in building relationships among our staff and students, which our youth truth data shows that we continue to work on. The culture of competence, that's connecting students to adults for appropriate supports, and we can view that through our attendance, through our academic needs and our social emotional needs. And lastly, the culture of excellence, which is improving student achievement, that's student outcomes school-wide and for our most needy groups, and that's working with Ed Services and our TLT. I think you've heard that before, continuing proficiency-based education and our essential standards. So next slide, Jen. So under culture of caring, our restorative circles and changes in our discipline practice, that was a focus that we have had over the last year and continuing. The outcomes from that work was reducing suspension by 63 days, our Latinx suspensions by 50%, ELs by 60, and we had 81 students participating in our restorative circles under the guidance of Phoebe Smith and Tanya Ruano, who serve as San Marin High School, plus our students who joined in the circles. Some other positive data points, our equity team that was led by Wes Swedlow and the professional development under culturally responsive teaching through Dr. LB, Michelle Lefebvre-Burnt, worked with our staff to build focal students. So staff members select students who they need to build relationships, understand the individual where they're coming from. And with that data of the students that we could measure, over that time, our Latinx GPA increased from a 2.39 to 2.56, and our EL student GPAs for those students selected increased 2.30 to 2.88. So you might ask yourself, that's not a great jump, but these are some of our most needy students, and if we continue to progress like that, we'll be close to that B average, and we'll be above a B average for our EL student GPA. Next slide, Jen. So next is the culture of competence, and that's trying to connect our adults with our students. And we do that, we're trying to do a whole team approach. So what we've done is to revamp our SART process, and we instituted what we call pop-up meetings, these 15-minute meetings that involve parent, student, counselor, school counselor, BACR when available, site administrator, and anyone else who needs to come in to help. So I'll talk a little bit about how that worked. We upped our SART meetings, which some might view as a negative, but it actually was identifying students better to provide early interventions. So we had 59 as compared to 15 the prior year. Our Latinx failure rate and our SED failure rate reduced, that is in grades, 14% and 4% respectively. So we increased those pop-up meetings from 21 the prior year to 83 and ongoing. Our chronic absentee rate reduced to 3%. And one thing I want to point out, that last data point, other positive data, since instituting the changing practices, our A grades have increased 7% for that targeted group. And one of our school site council student members advocated for, we talk a lot about reducing DNFs, but we need to also focus high expectations. So that student voice wanted to include within our SIPSA this year, adding a look at A grades and how we're actually improving that to improve outcomes for those students. So next slide, Jen. Thank you so much. So on culture of excellence, that's a student achievement school-wide plus our targeted groups, prioritizing standard proficiency-based grading practices, using those assessments for math, MDTP, and Galileo for English language arts. So our Galileo data was very good, very positive, but we did measure students who, some of the students in the mid-year had a full year of English instruction, while others had only had 1 or 2 weeks, so we didn't think that was fair to point some of those data points out this time. But our MDTP, which is through the UC system in Algebra 1, our fall to spring assessments last year, which counted a full year of instruction, Algebra 1 increased 7 of the 9 standards assessed. You see geometry 6 of 8, algebra 2, 7 of 8. A lot of that is attributed to how we paced and reviewed some of those standards for each one of those particular classrooms. Other positive data points with regards to this, we've reduced our DNF rates in English language arts. You can see that's our grade 9 level reduced, grade 10, junior, and ERWC. Those are the primary courses. That does not include the advanced placement, which has a much lower DNF rate. And I wanted to bring that up because we talked about that choke point, and our data suggested that English language arts was holding back many students from meeting A through G. So we are progressed in that area. Still more work to do, and we will continue to do that work in the years to come. So some quick other bright spots. I won't touch on all of these. I do want to touch on 2 of them. One is ELs making progress, 58%. and 58% of our level 4 that is measuring English learner progress is from one LPAC assessment to another who is making progress. You can see our results district-wide. I'd like to thank our ELD teachers, our designated and integrated ELD teachers. We do something here called an ILP, which is the individual learning plan. Our ELD teachers present to the staff. They did it twice this year, sharing the individual needs of our EL students that are in classes. And we will continue to beef up that process. We believe it has had a lot to do with our success. And secondly, the College and Career Readiness Indicator. That's reflected by the CDE. We have 57% prepared and 17% approaching. So using our greatest data point for how those students are meeting the prepared level, for meeting prepared, there's approximately 7 categories San Marin has. Multiple AP 3+ scores or pass rates of 3+, plus those meeting A through G. We had 57% and 17%. Typically, it's meeting A through G requirements. And that's a big disconnect because I think we have in our Youth Truth data about 3% of our students say they're college and career ready. But according to our state data, it shows we're doing much better than that. So those are some key points on our bright spots. The next slide, Jen, if you could. These are some of those strategies and outcomes. The left side are those things that we are continuing to look at. Here's what we hope to have on our right side. Well, we don't hope, but we will have as we continue to do that, reducing those DNF rates as you see, making sure we review the data so we can change our practices. We believe our focus right now is to institutionalize these. We think we're on the right track. Now we have to make sure that we continue to do them, reflect on them, and get better. Want to appreciate, really thank and show my appreciation for our teaching staff and everything we've been doing, and continued support from our district office as well.
Thank you so much. I'm glad we were able to find you out there, Mark. And again, I'm going to throw it back to the board for any questions or comments.
So Jen, to be clear, we've gone through the slide decks as presented. Thank you very much for all of you. We'll have some questions. But I understand this item before us is also the approval of the single plan for student achievement, which are each 30 pages of material, one for each school. Is that the request of us, right?
Yes, and once we're done with questions and we are ready, I will ask for the approval of the board for our SIPSs for this year. And for those listening at home, yes, these presentations are about 3 to 5 minute presentation, but the documentation is far longer. So you have a lot of information and data in front of you, and tonight's presentation hopefully gave everyone kind of an overview and a little snippet of the hard work that our schools are doing.
And those reports are in the agenda planning tool. So if anybody wants to look at the detail, they can do that. The board has them in front of us physically. So with that, I'm going to ask the board if there's any questions for Superintendent Acting Assistant Superintendent Larson. I think I got it right.
I have 2 comments.
Oh,
Nobody else.
Butler,
I
yes,
already
please.
went, but just the fact that a lot of our principals mentioned the Youth Truth Survey. I know few years ago when we rolled that out, it was a little clunky, but it seems like they've grasped it and are using that tool as a way to gauge where our students at and where the parent community is at for their school, and taking advantage of that information and making adjustments. So thank you for using that tool effectively. It's nice to hear that. And then just to, we tend to all hear the negative, and I think tonight we've heard a lot of great news with the work that our schools, our secondary schools are doing. There is still great work happening academically from the Education Service Department all the way down to the classroom. Outside of the COVID and the pandemic and what the effects that it's having on some of our students, there is still great work happening. The report that we have, closing or keeping all doors open, that plan that we have that goes until 2023. I mean, our staff is still working through that and checking the boxes. And so I really appreciate that. This is the work we do as education, and that is so important, and it's happening even in these times. So.
Trustee Gasson.
So you remind me, I as a parent, I should probably just chime in that I've actually appreciated that the district has put out the Youth Truth Survey, especially since been a couple of years so that there's information to track. The first year it's always hard. People aren't too sure about it. What is this? Is there one more thing I'm going to do and nobody's going to listen to? My experience in working with Pleasant Valley in the past has been that we really do use that data. And I'm encouraged to see that other school sites are doing the same, that we've got data over a span of a few years. Unfortunately with COVID, some of that information is going to be a little wonky, because how do you talk about, what's going on at school when you're not actually in school? But there's a lot of other elements that were good. And in case it was missed somewhere online, both of my kids also take it. So they also offer it to students to get their perspective, and they appreciate that opportunity as well.
Okay. Other comments? Okay.
Question.
Aguilar?
Thank you. I wanted to, can you hear me? Thank the teachers. I was going through my notes and seeing like all the different schools, and it just takes a lot of effort of what's been happening during this year. And I want to thank the teachers, especially for all the hard work that they've been doing. As far as the youth truth survey, I'm so glad that we're having it. So thank you, Trustee Butler, for mentioning that. I always, every time we mention youth truth surveys, I always mention the chick survey too. But that's like, that comes every other year. And so it's always good to have those tools to help us understand where our students are from. And I just, again, I just want to say I'm very proud for all the hard work that the teachers have done. I mean, so difficult, and yet we seem to be moving forward. And I want to thank the students for hanging in there, and parents as well. So thank you again to all our principals.
One of the most exciting times that I have in this generally bureaucratic job is on these events when all of the principals, in this case the 5 principals at the high schools and the middle schools, come together, and they're in the room together and they're listening to each other's presentations, and the dialogue that occurs as they learn from each other and are inspired by each other's work is really exciting. This is all doing this by Zoom. There isn't quite the same enthusiasm that comes through, and I'm disappointed that that's the case. That's just where we are. I am encouraged by the fact that we have accountability systems in place, and that while we wonder if students are learning or teachers are teaching in this environment where it's much harder to get your arms around it, we have the tools in place to make sure that that's happening, the testing occurs, and the attendance is up, and the participation of the students, while not as robust as being on campus, is clearly still happening. And a credit to the 5 leaders we have with us this evening, and to every teacher on those campuses that becomes the personal connection for the students, because none of us here are doing the teaching. None of the 8 of us are doing the teaching. The teaching is occurring face to face between a student and an instructor, and this is a time to honor the work that they've achieved. So with that, I would like, if there's no other comments, I'll take a motion to approve the single plans for student achievement for the 5 secondary schools. Moved by Trustee Mack and seconded by Trustee Nell. Do we still have student trustees with us? I don't see them. No. Nope. Okay. So with that, I'll take all in favor of the motion. We have seven trustees voting in favor, none opposed. Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson and Superintendent Tosca. She has a longer title.
That's
than
okay.
You. She must be important.
She deserves it. If I could, before we transition to the next topic, we brought up a couple of key things, one being the Youth Truth Survey, and the other being the California Healthy Kids Survey. I want you to know that on March 30th, you're scheduled to get an update on the results from the 2020, I believe they were both given, no, 2021 survey results. So just know that's coming, about a month away.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
With that, we're going to move to item number 14B. Yancey Hawkins will cover the Comcast ground lease. So, Trustee Hawkins. Are you still with us? Have you gone to bed yet? You're getting.
Not gone to bed yet. Thank you, President Millerick, and trustees. So this is actually a really some good news. Back earlier this school year, the board approved a 5-year extension of Comcast's lease on the San Marin campus. And that was a 5-year lease, as the previous lease was ending on December 31st of this year. And to remind everybody, what this does is Comcast leases a small portion, the backside of San Marin High School, and in return, the school district receives services from Comcast, dark fiber lines between all of its sites. A service that is easily valued in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to NUSD. And so we approved the 5-year extension this fall, but staff, specifically our director of IT, Tim Rocco, really pushed Comcast because this was such a great agreement for both sides, pushed to extend it an additional 5 years and retain another 5-year extension possibility after that without having to negotiate the agreement. So after a lot of emails and pushing on the part of the district, Comcast came back, thinks it's a great idea, and we're happy to say that staff is recommending us moving forward with the approval of the additional 5-year extension. That 5-year extension would go all the way to December 31st of 2030, and over the 10-year term of this agreement, the expected value to the school district is well over $1 million. And so sometimes we look at, financial, agreements in terms of cash, what we're bringing in, but this saves the district, significant dollars, and it's, just as good. I also want to thank Trustee Millerick, for spearheading a long time ago the initial agreement that has worked so well for the district and continues to work well. With that, I'm happy to open it up to any questions.
Questions from other trustees?
Great work. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Good.
Why is your wall so empty behind you?
So before we take the next step, because of this work that's been done, the E-rate money that comes to this district can be redirected to other purposes as opposed to surplus. So we have Tim Rocco and team have upgraded the Wi-Fi on every campus in this entire district. All 15 campuses have been upgraded in the last year in order to bring us up to the standard for Wi-Fi 6, which is the new, like 3 times the capacity of its predecessor. So this event not only serves us well, but it's allowed us to take the revenue that comes through E-rate, which we can't spend except for technology, and use it to open the campuses to make sure they're ready for students to come back on. We have a school district where every kid has a Chromebook. That means you got to have connectivity and support for all that work, and that's a challenge. And in this district, because of Yancey's work and others like this, we were able to repurpose that money and get rid of that obstacle that we had. So the accomplishments are more than just what's on the face of this thing. So before we take a vote on this, Yancey, I do believe this is the last meeting you're going to be joining us. And I want to personally thank you for the kids and families of Novato. We have managed some very interesting financial affairs between property at Hamilton and charter schools and the relationship we have with them. Those never happen unless somebody's managing the book work and back and making sure that Nancy Walker is doing her job and you're paying attention to make sure she doesn't leave. It's been a great run, and I am forever grateful for the 2 audits in a row with no exceptions that your department produced, and the solid financial position you're leaving the district. So, anybody else have any thoughts before we ask for an approval of this motion?
Sure.
Good, Trustee Mack.
I go. Thank you, Yancy, for your service to NUSD. I mean, you've been amazing as our CFO. I'm just going to call it a CFO position. You arrived with a bond measure that we had to get passed, and you were off and running since then. You haven't stopped running. You're like the duck on the water, you know, just cruising along, and your feet are underneath going, oh my gosh. But you know, you've gotten so much done, and I mean, just the reports you bring to the board, I know the information's correct. I can count on it. It's truthful, and I so appreciate that. And Nancy Walker's behind the scenes with her calculator, smokes coming out of it. I know she's working fast and furious, but you guys have been a great team, and I'm glad Nancy's still here to bring us along. And we have an interim that's a great fit for us right now for the remaining of the school year. But your work has been amazing, and thank you so much, and good luck to you.
Trustee Mack.
Yancy, hey, yeah, you've had a really good run with us. I really am sad to see you go, even though you're a UCLA guy. That's okay. But
yeah, it can't be perfect.
Go Bears. But anyway, no, what I really wanted to say, and I think I said this in a text to you earlier, is the immense positivity that you've brought to this role, despite some fairly, intense times at times. But as well, too, and Debbie reflected on this as well, the Measure G management that you've provided to all of us, beyond just getting it passed, getting it implemented, but the ongoing management of it, getting us in a position to save so much money. Wonderful stuff. Now, I know part of that's the economy, but it takes someone who knows what they're doing to stay on top of that stuff. And I really appreciate that. We're going to miss you. I know we'll still stay in touch. I know you're still local. We'll try to bring you back. We'll see what happens. But anyway, take care of yourself, and thank you much.
So, any other comments? Trustee Neal.
Just quickly, I don't need to repeat everything that's been said. I just want to thank you for helping us out. We're better off for it, and we're going to miss you. So good luck, and appreciate the work you did here, Nancy. Thank you.
With that, I'll take a motion
I want to say something too.
Trustee Aguilar.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Yancy, for all that you've done for the district, but not only for the district, but also you did your part to try to work with Novato and Novato partners. You even completed the Novato leadership, and I was there for your graduation, and you've done a lot for NUSD and Novato, and we hope that you come back and you reconsider. So, but and you also made it positive. You kept positive. So thank you.
So I'm just going to add one extra little element here, and I think it's just the incredible amount of knowledge that you have to have in the role that you're in, and nothing could be more said on that except for earlier tonight when I asked you a question and you were quoting some kind of AB bill from like years ago that you even knew, and every time I speak to you, it's just the volume of information you give and retain, and it's important because those things make you do what you've done so well for these, the 2 years I've been here. It's just been extremely helpful. Really gonna miss you. Know that you'll do really well at your next job, but know that you've always got a home here too.
Okay, we're ready for motion. I'll move. Trustee Mack is going to move approval of the additional 5-year extension for the San Marino ground lease with
AKA Yancy's parting gift.
Second by Trustee Butler. All in favor? 7 trustees in favor, none opposed. Yancy, it is not a bad move to leave an extra couple of $1 million on the table as you walk out the door. That is a nice touch. I figure it's worth about 200,000 a year, more or less.
Yeah.
So nice work. 10 years, 200,000. That gets us $2 million pretty quick. Thank you, sir. Now off to the next item, and Trustee Superintendent Costco will be presenting the item, and I believe he's at his computer so he can deliver the content. Superintendent Costco, you want to take this item?
Yeah, thank you, trustees, for letting me bring this proposal to you. As you recall, 2 years ago, we entered into our first contract with Target River. The idea of the Target River contract was to attract and retain students with NUSD. The recommendation to work with a marketing firm came out of the Elementary School Size Committee. That was one of the many recommendations that was brought forth by that committee that we implemented. In the first year of our contract with Target River, we had a projection from our demographers of a decline in enrollment of roughly 100 students. We were very surprised and pleased when we came back from our short administrative summer break and really dove into our enrollment to see that not only had we not declined in enrollment that year, we'd actually increased by over 100 students, so a swing of 200 students. And while we don't credit Target River with all of that change, we do know that they were a large piece of the support that helped us to make that happen. We entered into a second contract with Target River this year. And unfortunately, just due to all things COVID, we have not seen the same benefit. And now tonight we're exploring the possibility of a third contract with Target River. We have the CEO of Target River, Brian Epperson, here with us. One thing that I want to say about the cost of the contract, it is about $32,000. If we were to retain 3 students for 1 year, we would pay for the service. So if the marketing exercises implemented by Target River were effective only to the degree of helping us to attract or retain 3 students for 1 year, it would pay itself off. Of course, if we got a kindergarten student through this marketing that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten, that would be 13 years of school if we were able to maintain them. So that would far exceed the cost of the contract. So with that context, I'm going to turn it over to Brian. Brian's going to take us through his presentation. Thanks for being here with us tonight, Brian.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, President Milrick, fellow trustees, and Superintendent Koska, as well as Cabinet, for having me this evening. And thank you for sharing that information. It was interesting as we looked back at the historical data, thanks to the support of Leslie Benjamin, to look at how many leads were generated in the previous 2 campaigns and how many of those ended up having enrolled students in your ARIES system. 39 or 36 in 1 year and 49 in another year directly match back to the efforts of the campaign that were a collaboration of our company as well as the district. And you made the point there, Chris, regarding the value of a TK or kindergartner student. And ironically, in both years, 14 students each of those years were transitional kindergartners or kindergartners that started with NUSD. I do want to say that I saw on the agenda tonight that it was labeled as a marketing agreement. And while it is marketing efforts, it really is what, as I like to consider, a boost or megaphone for the communication efforts of the district. There's a lot of great tools that your district has to communicate with families, be that email, maybe robocalls, text messaging, social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And those do provide a means to communicate with families, with stakeholders in the community, but they do only reach a percentage of those in the community. For instance, on Facebook, you have 2,933 people that follow the Facebook page of Novato, of the district. So that's a small percentage of the people in the community. And typically a Facebook page only reaches about 400 to 1,100 people. So what we're looking at really are tactics and tools to help ensure that everybody in the community has a chance to hear the messaging, the updates, what's occurring, what's going on with the district. Now, this past year, with many things evolving due to COVID, we've seen the way that some of our clients, our fellow public school districts that we work with, utilize the messaging that we're able to put out there. So sometimes it's been quick updates and modifications in terms of schedules, as well as updates on enrollment, as well as updates on virtual attendance. So really think of what I'm going to share with you as a pool of impressions available to share whatever key message we need to change or we need to put out, and even change on the fly. Literally the other day, we had an alert from a school district in Southern California that said, stop the enrollment ads. Our enrollment software is housed in Texas, and it's frozen. Their servers are down. So we literally, in about 4 hours, had to change the messaging and completely update things. That's the type of partner we are for our district partners, and we want to be flexible for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and walk through a couple of things. Right. So again, thank you. We appreciate the chance we've had to partner with you previously. Some of the goals and objectives is to ensure that we're building trust with your stakeholders throughout the community. Those are obviously existing parents, students, as well as future parents and students, as well as others in the community, be that community leaders, civic leaders, as well as others who reside in the community. We want to ensure that we're doing everything we can to retain existing students within the Nevada Unified System, to make sure that those that might be questioning or thinking leaving to a charter school or private school in the community, or in this day and age, a lot the consideration of an online program, that we ensure they understand the real values of having an NUSD education. We also want to make every effort to try to reacquire lost students. Typically, this is a percentage of efforts, but with the advent of with COVID coming in, we've seen many districts lose many more students, if at least temporarily, if not longer, due to the online learning that has occurred. So we want to ensure we're doing that. We also want to ensure, of course, that we're attracting new students. Oftentimes that is that transitional kindergartner or kindergarten student, but also those that maybe had started in a private or charter or online school environment and are looking to reconsider when they transition to middle school or onto high school. To accomplish this, we are recommending a variety of tactics that will help amplify the messaging that your district's already able to put out through the aforementioned tactics that I described earlier. So the tactics that we are recommending are a multi-pronged approach to ensure that we're reaching people where they are and when they're utilizing devices. So obviously we'll be utilizing many tactics that you're familiar with that can reach people, whether they're on their smartphone, their laptop, desktop, tablet, or even their television nowadays. So we'll be utilizing tactics such as Facebook, Instagram, websites that people visit, apps that people utilize, in order to share visual and video messaging with the appropriate content that the district deems to send out. So we'll collaborate with the district staff to ensure that we're designing effective messaging that addresses the key things that need to be shared with the community, whether it's timely updates regarding opportunities to enroll, changes in hybrid and online learning to in-person learning, or any other communications that need to go out. We would also utilize video messaging through the ability to reach those families on their televisions that fit our target audiences. One thing as a company with the name Target in it, or the word Target in our name, we are very keen on ensuring that the messaging that we share reaches our right target audiences. So we look at geographic considerations, demographic factors, think of things such as census data, parental status, etc., and also psychographic data, which allows us to identify people who are intentionally looking for schools, have certain behavioral characteristics, are searching keywords and such. So we can make sure that those people that are in shopping mode, for example, for a school, are aware of your great programs and what the district has to offer. We also would produce multiple videos A couple of examples could be why choose Novato Unified, a welcome that highlights some of the key things that you guys are well known for and continuing to improve at all of your school sites, or other appropriate messaging. For instance, one of our recent district partners asked us to produce a video that discussed the importance of attendance, whether that's in person or virtual. And so that was a way that we were able to really help improve things. And we saw through great data points an increase from 93% to over 96% increase in average daily attendance. So that again is flexible based on what messaging that we need to deliver. Any questions so far on the tactics that I'm sharing here?
Questions from trustees? Trustee Jacobson.
Hi. So you just talked about targeting. How do you deduce how to target what types of information we need to put out?
So the first thing we look at is there's three basic ways we can choose to target people. First is geography. So we can target down to as tight as a single kilometer radius around a location to as broad as areas around zip codes, communities, cities, and counties. So obviously for the school district, we'd be looking at the zip codes that you serve, as well as maybe bordering zip codes where you have inter-district transfers coming from. The second thing that we're able to do is to target based off of demographic data. Think of that like census data. So that's going to include things such as genders, age ranges, parental status, are kind of the key demographic things that we can look at. And then the third most important area is we can look at intent as well. So we can look and say, here are families that live in these particular zip codes that have children of these age ranges, for example, that are currently looking for a school for their child. And we might want to show them a video why they should enroll their child in Novato Unified, as an example. Previously for the district, we ran ads that were targeting families with children that were ages 3, 4, and 5 to ensure they made that right choice and started off their child's education by enrolling them in Novato Unified. So those were hyper targeted towards those families that have children in those age ranges.
And what role do you play in creating the message and the content in that?
We support a district as much or as little as needed. We definitely do work with district leadership to ensure we are choosing the right imagery, the right text, the right context, the right fonts, styles, coloring, the right voice to go into a video, the right music bed. And then ultimately we will produce those and present them to the district staff for approval or any edits before they are deployed.
Thank you.
No problem.
At this point, so I'm going to ask for, I know we have some public comment, so we're going to.
I think he has more in his presentation.
Well, the presentation's not over.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep going, sir.
No problem. So the last key thing is the number of impressions. So what impressions are a set of eyes that sees an ad or a set of ears that hears an ad. And so we would guarantee a delivery of at least 3.6 million impressions to your target audience. You might say, wow, that's a lot more people than we have that live in the footprint of Novato Unified. But you have to keep in mind that due to the fact that people are bombarded with messaging throughout the course of our days, we are probably all exposed to several hundred forms of advertising messages as we walked about our day to day. We want to ensure that people in our target audiences hear your messaging a sufficient an amount of times in order to respond, plant the seed, make them consider it, make them explore it, and then ultimately make the decision to choose to retain their child in the district, enroll them for the first time, or bring them back, and or feel greater confidence about what the district's doing. Again, this is a multi-pronged approach here that we want to ensure we're using messaging to address many things that the district's working on. One last key thing, just as a point, we definitely understand the budget challenges that districts are facing right now. We value our relationship with the district and have, for lack of a better phrase, sharpened our pencil to ensure we're delivering the same caliber and quality that we have before for over $4,000 less than we had in the previous phase.
Thanks, sir.
have another question.
Question, Trustee Jacob.
So I don't want to be negative, obviously, about things, but we do have some problems within our community around our image and our PR. We just had a parcel tax that didn't pass,
Yep.
and there's stuff happening with reentry. How do you combat that? What is your role in that?
That is an area that we would recommend a plan to sit with cabinet and to work with Leslie Benjamin and identify some of the key issues that are facing the district and what the district voice is around those and how those should be communicated to the community through the different tactics that we're going to be using, as well as complemented by the ones that are already in the district's arsenal, as I mentioned before. So it is really a collaboration there to ensure we're understanding and hearing what is occurring and how we can project that in a positive light and fashion to really make sure that people understand and feel that the district does have an ear and a shoulder and understanding of what's happening.
And just out of curiosity, what was your involvement with messaging around the parcel tax previously? Was that part of the scope of what you guys did for us in the past?
No, our prior two phases were strictly on our communication around school, choosing a NUSD school, retention, and the other things that we've mentioned so far tonight.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I've looked at what I have in front of me a couple of times and I don't see a time period on this. So what is the time frame that's being presented for this?
The soft proposal is for over a 4-month period. We do have flexibility with that based on the ultimate decision by you as a board, but we're recommending a 4-month period to deploy that messaging. Again, as a partner to the district, if there was messaging that needed to be extended into a 5th month or tightened up because of an urgency to get more messages out, we're definitely nimble to make those adjustments as needed.
Thank you.
Other questions? If there's no questions, I'm going to take public comment. Okay, so at this point we have 4 speakers, so we're going to go through 3 minutes each.
Hi there. Can you see and hear me?
I can hear you. Your name?
My name is Pete Olson.
Hi, Pete. How are you?
Great. Yeah, my name is Pete Olson. I have a daughter, 7th grader at Sinaloa Middle School. She's been back at school for a couple of weeks now, and I thought I would comment a little bit on her experience as context for the reentry discussion and this closing the back door marketing campaign. She's been at school for a couple of weeks, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, so a total of 10 hours of instruction each week. The way her schedule works out, her 5th and 6th period classes just meet once a week in person. And so for her, that means that she does math and science in person for 1 hour a week. And in a class like PE, she has 2 hours a week. And in PE, they're doing playing cornhole the last couple of weeks. So, returning to school has been a positive from a social perspective, but academically, I feel like we're falling further behind with this model. And I worry about this model being viewed as a sustainable model for the balance of the year. So I view the hybrid model as a short-term transition into full person learning. And so I'm hoping that this transition is in weeks and not months. Tonight, we received a survey from the NUSD talking about enhanced hybrid. And I just asked that if we could just skip that step altogether and just concentrate our efforts on a full return to school for all students. The pace of change has been too slow from my perspective. I was frustrated about hearing 4 meetings set up with union reps. I would hope that all parties could meet and not leave the room until an agreement could be reached. This year has been tough on everyone. We're making progress, but really need to put students' education and mental health first. I believe we can safely return to school without having to wait for vaccinations for all. So I'd ask that you please don't spend money on watching the back door, but please focus on a full reopening of the front door. The school district's brand right now is dependent on showing that you're doing everything possible to get back to in-person school. Mr. Epperson just talked about social media tactics. And my view is you could spend $1 million on tactics and it wouldn't influence your customers if they can't clearly see that your main priority is reopening the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Kevin?
Yes.
Hi.
Well, Target River hit it on the nail. I think they are a great company, but you consider to spend over 32,000 on advertising to guard the back door. As a business owner, the best marketing plan is to keep the customer in front of you. In this case, will be the loving parents was speak at the board and show up at the district on the protest. The truth is, many of us will walk out the front door. You know, you don't really have to watch the back door. And also, both of my daughter used to go to a private school. My family, moved to Novato 8 years ago so they can attend a great public school here. And I think all you need, the district had to rebuild the trust with the parents. And all you need to do, we just need to see more action. We need to see return to full-time to school, I say, in weeks, not months. And also, the mental issue, yes, Mr. Costa stated it's not a school issue. But the truth is, what's the difference between last year when COVID started? The only thing is they don't go to school. They still have the same parents. So don't make it any worse than it, And he also stated he only heard from a certain group of parents. And I found it a little bit insulting because minority, also that group of parents is the one who already take their kids out of the school district, which is, with all the respect, I just want you guys to really focus on reopening the school and, let's work together, and this is a great district. We love it. That's why we moved here. But now we consider other options. And thank you for listening.
Kevin, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. This is Barry Maxon. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, Barry.
Great, thank you. Brian, thanks for your quick presentation there. Appreciated that. And I also know the board, and I want to just acknowledge the superintendent and all the principals that spoke earlier. You're all working hard. I understand that, and you got dealt a bad hand this last year. But at the end of the day, hard work it isn't what matters. It's the results you get, right? So I'm the CEO of a software company based right here in Novato, and I'm a big believer in marketing. I spend a lot of my marketing budget, and when you get the results, it's all well worth it. To Brian's point, I would question and encourage the board to at least get the causal connection between the marketing data and the results in the past, to examine that to see if it's worth continued investment. And if it is, then by all means, down the road, go for it. But today, here's the marketing phrase that comes to mind when I hear this. It's a lipstick on a pig at this point in time. Because if your goal is to stop, as some of the others have said, people going out the back door, you need to open your doors to full time. The hybrid model doesn't work. I hear it from my son all the time. I've 4 hours a week in class and the rest online actually is confusing and challenging. So if you think about the purpose of marketing, as Brian was talking about earlier, it's to create awareness and to attract people to come here versus other alternatives. But keep in mind, your competition here is not other public schools, it's private schools. Private schools that have their doors open, they have their kids there. We, like many other parents, are considering private school as a very viable option. I'm a big believer in public school, would like to have my sons stay there. I've had 2 daughters go through your entire classes, and they've been very successful in college and finding their jobs. It's private that you're contending with. We have an offer of acceptance at a private school, and we'll choose that very quickly if we don't see swift action. And you're going to hear the same from many other parents. So I would actually, Chris, challenge you and the rest of the board and the principals to look at, if vaccines are going to be effective by mid-April, why not challenge to be open full time with students on campus now, not just next year, but now. And I appreciate what you said earlier about your plans. I was encouraged by that. I would ask when you come back at the middle of March that you be aggressive with your plans, concise and committed to them, and actually consider having kids back full time yet this year. Thank you.
Barry, thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, board and superintendent. This is Ross Ingalls, and I was actually not planning on speaking tonight until I just heard the superintendent's little sales pitch there about if we can just gain 3 kids. I was on the elementary school size committee a couple of years ago, and we are in a totally different time now. When that committee talked about marketing our schools, we were talking about our amazing programs that we have at like MSA at Novato High, STEM at San Marin, and it was an opportunity for us to like he said, advertise and put out there the stuff that we have in this district that other districts don't have and that other private schools aren't offering. Well, now, like I said, we're in a totally different time. And at the first 7-Eleven committee meeting, the superintendent actually said we'd lost 400 kids when they were kind of thinking that we would lose 100. Well, we're in a totally different time, and we can't keep losing kids and hope to gain 3 to pay for this $32,000. So it's kind of like when you go to the store and you find $100 or a $300 sweater that's on sale for $100 and you buy it, even though you don't need a sweater and you don't have $100. So you spend the $100 and go, oh my God, well, I saved 200. Well, you didn't really save 200 because you still spent 100 that you didn't have on a sweater you didn't need. Well, this marketing plan now is the sweater we don't need. There's no need for us to spend $32,000 of hard-earned money that you guys have got now on a marketing plan when we've got kids flooding out to private schools, leaving our high schools. I know a family right now that just pulled their 3 kids out. I know other families that got their kids on waiting lists. There's no sense in spending $32,000 on marketing a program that you guys don't even have open yet, like STEM or MSA. So I urge you to not send good money after bad and spend this 32 grand on the continuation of this marketing plan. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ross. That's it. We're done. Thank you very much. We're back to the board. Comments from trustees. Trustee DeGassi.
So I've actually appreciated the work that Target River has done. I actually see their ads, and I've seen the work that they've done. I think that they have done a lot of good things for our district. And I also still believe that our district has a lot of good things to offer. But can you hear me? Okay, sorry, Marie was tapping. I thought maybe I couldn't be heard. I think for me, a way that I'm looking at it right now is, and the reason I asked about the timing of this is that when you market or when you put yourself out there, you have a product. We do have a lot of good things that going on for our district, but we don't have the product that we have. And so I struggle with the idea of doing something now when we can't even articulate to everyone what we are doing. You know, what are we going to do the rest of this year? We've made a commitment for next year to be, on campus full time. But right now I feel like we're in this limbo of we're not sure where we're going next. And I think it's hard to encourage people with that, limited information right now. I also see an opportunity though for VLA, if we are going to continue that program, to take the time to develop and structure exactly what we're going to offer. Because with that, I see that as a way we could use Target River to go out and market and bring in those students that we were talking about that was actually mentioned during the 7-Eleven committee. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for their services. I do believe that they have merit. I think that we have a lot to offer, but I don't think this is the right time right now to be doing this. So.
Other comments, Trustee May?
I'll just take a step out of the politics, take a step out of the vitriol, the comments and all that stuff, and just look at this as a pure ROI play. 32,000, like Chris said, that's 3 students. They demonstrated very quickly that you can call it retaining, you can call it attracting, whatever you want, but if it brings in more than 3 students, it's paid for itself. And I think based on the history we've seen, it's tripled that. So as much as I respect the people who called in and I understand where they're coming from, and I appreciate the stress and the concern and agree with a lot of it, fundamentally, this is an ROI question to me, simply put, and I'm going to vote yes.
Okay. Comments from other trustees?
Somebody over there was next. Or...
I had my hand up, but you go next.
So this is the type of program that I think we should continue. This is what I refer to as a proactive multi-distribution channel method of getting our marketing message out in the private sector. Here, it's about getting the information out about the district. It's proven method of taking, let's just call them analytic information from the internet, collected through different demographic ways, and essentially just having something working in our advantage to communicate our message outward. So at a minimum, an organization of this size ought to be doing something, and this to me would be the bare minimum. And therefore I think it's a good idea that we do it. But what I want to address a little bit is like some of the conflation that's going on, where individuals are very frustrated with what COVID's result has had on us, the fact that schools have been closed, the kids are not able to be in full-time learning. And so they're conflating the frustration with that around just some fundamental communication structure, distribution of information. So from my perspective, we should be doing this good times, bad times. Messaging is about being out there all the time. It's a validation so that when people are ready to buy or have intent to go to school, they're familiar with the Nevada Unified School District through the messaging that we've been putting out there. There's also some examples about how we can use these channels to distribute information about how our hybrid plan is changing and not changing, and what the health department says and doesn't say. And it's all very confusing. So I think you have a responsibility to be proactive. So I support it, and I think we should do it. But at the same time, I want everyone here to know that I would want us to be back in full-time learning tomorrow if it were possible. And I am advocating that we get our kids back into schools. But that has very little to do with just simply running a multi-distribution system of information. So these are small dollars. It's less than 1/3 of 1% of our total budget. I don't even. It's fundamental to be proactive this way. I mean, I just talk to somebody who's generations before us. Let's just say younger people. This is how they communicate. This is how they talk. I can tell you right now that there are organizations out there spending millions of dollars on this, and it's all successful because it's quite frankly the way we all learn from each other. Unfortunately, we do learn some bad things over the internet. We talked a little bit earlier about how we have a deal with Comcast. We have some of the best internet communications. We have some of the best CTE classes in our program. We're training our students to do this type of thing. Yet we won't practice it ourselves. I just a little frustrated myself that we're not doing more in this area. Again, and I don't want to confuse or conflate the problems we're having with getting back into full-time learning with a simple, fundamental, proactive, multi-channel distribution system of our messaging and marketing. So I'm going to support it. I respect the timing argument, but from my perspective, we should be doing it 12 months out of the year automatically. So it's not something that I would say that we should wait and do later. We should be doing it all the time. In fact, we should be taking advantage of this method of communicating outwardly about the problems we're having and the frustrations we're having and the problems that we're trying to solve. It's not just as easy as say, open those schools tomorrow. There's way more to it than just that. So that's it, you guys. I think it's a good idea, and we should keep the school operating and running, and at the same time try to get these kids back into full-time learning. That's it.
Other comments? Trustee Jackson?
I knew I wanted you to go first. I mean, I feel very similarly. I'm a businesswoman at heart. Like, I think we should be marketing the hell out of this district at all times. I do think that we need some guidance around how to best communicate with our community, and that's where my concern is. So if we can really use that focus, that would be great. Yes, the timing's not ideal. Hopefully in a few weeks, we'll have everything kind of dialed in on how we're going to have all our kids back, and this will be moot, but those are my thoughts.
Other comments?
I don't want to see guard the back door.
I don't either.
mentioned Again.
Ever.
That's
Please.
not what this is about.
It's not
But
what-
it's a bad message.
No.
Let's start with messaging.
That's my only message. my only
Okay,
comment.
stop guarding the back door or something like that. Here's my 2 cents. This district has spent almost nothing in terms of marketing. I live in the software world, and I live in the marketing world, and you have to be able to systematically put the important message forward. And over time, we have MSA, which has done a great job and been a wonderful program. We have San Marin STEM. We had a computer science program that was run at both Nevada High and San Marin 20 years ago that had extraordinary marks. In a district that had less funding than other districts in Marin County, we had students coming, still do today, students commuting from other parts of Marin County to go to programs in this district. So I think there's an opportunity for us to do a better job of marketing. And $30,000 is, to me, just a really simple down payment to get this started, because I think we need the Target River's expertise in sharpening the message, because I think we could do way better than we're doing. Now the separate conversation of, well, look, we can't seem to get kids on campus, and there's opportunities for us, but high school kids came back yesterday here. In TAM, they came back today, and in San Rafael, they're coming back in 2 weeks. We're not, and in Marin County, with the support of Mary Jane Burke and Willis and lots of other people, somebody pointed out earlier in the evening that Marin County is in the, pick a color, I don't know if it's red versus purple or green versus orange, or we're in better shape than lots of other places. And Mary Jane Burke and team have pushed. So over the next 2 weekends, the big concern of teachers being at risk is going to just disappear for not having been vaccinated. The hard work that Willis and others have done is paying off, and we're going to see that go away. I think the bigger problem is how we present the district to the community. I mean, we've all listened to emails and phone calls and conversations and phone calls this evening where somehow the message of we're doing this with the intention of doing the best job for kids is missing the mark, and and people are more than frustrated. I mean, I'm a grandparent, I'm not a parent, but more than frustrating. We're basically locked. I mean, my wife and I are in the risk tier. One of us gets sick and we're going to drop dead if we don't. I mean, there's this 500,000 people in this country have died in the last year. And I'm frustrated that this country hasn't been able to figure out how that's bigger than all the US deaths in World War I, World War II, and Vietnam all put together, and Korea War, and go, this is a big deal, and everybody's not getting what they want. But to me, that's not the reason to not figure out a marketing plan that puts our very best foot forward. It takes MSA and puts it forward. It takes our STEM program and puts it forward. All that said, Trustee Nell's got it dead right. We got to get our kids back on campus. We have to do everything we can to solve this problem. And what I heard over the last 3 weeks is middle school came back, high schools came back yesterday. The second half of high school is coming back next Monday. And we're going to have a plan for us to review the week after that, the 15th. Is that enough? I don't know. It's a lot more than what was happening in January and December when the state was locking down everybody and telling them that the mandatory stay at home, don't even go to the grocery store, which is what was happening around the 1st of January. So I'm gonna support this, not because I think the problem about getting schools on campus, kids on campus, doesn't need to be the highest priority. I just think that we need to be managing this as well. And so I'm going to support this item and spend the $32,000 on a marketing team to come in. That's what I'm going to do. So is anybody, Maureen?
Sure. I really I agree with Trustee Gasson. I think this is the wrong time. I think that we should be bringing them in, every chance we get, every month or what have you, to be able to have this conversation and see when we can use Target River. And I know that it pays for itself. It already happened once. So on the other hand, and I still have the lawn sign in front of my house, haven't taken it down. So I believe in Target River, On the other hand, we've been getting a lot of notices, let's say, that that we're going to be losing a lot of our kids to private schools, and maybe not. I'm not sure, but so I do have a feeling that we will need Target River. So I'm totally with you, but I think we should use it. We should use it, and I know it'll pay for itself. So like I said, it's been done before, so I'm not worried about that. And just because of the unknown, this is why I would choose to get Target River for tonight. But I think the timing is wrong. I mean, I just think that we could have a little longer time to talk about it. But so I would support it for tonight.
Two questions, Chris? Can I ask you a question?
Oh, Diane, you want to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, Diane?
So I just have two questions. So the first, well, actually, I'll ask a different question first. So what I liked from what I heard tonight is that there's customization about what we're doing and sending out. And so I think part of the Bristol is this whole idea of, trying to save students from leaving the district, and phrasing that's been brought up. So my question would be, given some of the points made by other trustees, is we do have some good things going on, and I'm wondering if we can use this opportunity when we have kids, or when we're open, or whatever plan comes out, later in March or whenever, to have those messaging. If these services would help push out those messaging and all the good stuff that's going on.
So remember that this is a more than a 4-month experience, right? So the big push is over a 4-month period of time. So right now it's March, beginning of March. So March, April, May, June. That's the time when families are deciding where they're gonna put their students into school. That's the time when all of this is going to be evolving for what school looks like this spring. That's the time when it's going to be evolving for what things look like for next fall. We could wait a while, but the reality is, as we've heard from families tonight, 2 meetings ago, people are making decisions now. It isn't just the families who are trying to decide if they're going to leave NUSD because they're not pleased with our pace of return or our hybrid return. It's also the families with transition kindergartners who are going to be coming in next year, or kindergartners who are going to be coming in next year. And they're making these critical decisions And we have an opportunity to get some information in front of them, or we have the opportunity to decide tonight to not get that information in front of them in a timely way when they need to make those important decisions. As you've heard from people in our community, the private schools want to know now if you're going to be enrolling at their school. So, you know, we can certainly wait. We could certainly not do this. But there's a reason I brought it forward as a recommendation, is because I believe that, as Greg mentioned, the return on investment on this is pretty clear to me. I mean, it's very clear to me that we're going to get at least 3 students for 1 year apiece from this marketing plan. They've proven that to us historically. So I think that's probably more than you needed from me.
Yeah, no, because mine was if we could redirect. I think there are opportunities, and I don't disagree that there's value in it. I think I just am really struggling with some of the stuff that, I mean, I'm a parent, and I don't think if I didn't know what a school was offering me for the future, it wouldn't matter. And so I feel like we're in that, and I understand it's a 4-month period. I was trying to get an idea of scope of, you know, when are we going to start this and expanding it. You know, Trustee Miller just was talking about, we have great MSA, we have great STEM, but if people don't know what we're going to be doing next year, even though we're saying we're going to be back full, I just don't see that connection. As a parent, I could not make that connection if I wasn't sure that my kid was going to be going to school. So that's
one. This is Brian Epperson. I was just going to share, and that's one of the things that we would work with the district staff to ensure that we're conveying that right relevant message as you guys formalize your plans over the next couple of weeks. For instance, in your next board meeting, you'll have a greater clarity potentially on what it's going to look like through the balance of this school year, as well as concerted efforts on preparations for what you're going to be offering come fall. And that's where we roll our sleeves up to work collaboratively with you to ensure that we've got that best right message to go out to each of the different audiences that we're speaking to. So it's not a canned generic message that we used previously or used for other districts. It's really tailored to your district, your story, your voice, based on the direction that you guys are going, to ensure that that is presented to those that are going to be making decisions about their children's education.
okay. Thank you. I'm going to bank on what I think is going to happen then in the future.
Okay, so any other questions? Otherwise, I'll call for a vote.
I'll move to approve.
Greg Mack moves to adopt the phase 3 plan promoting and marketing the Nevada Unified School District. Item 15, whatever it's 14C. Seconded by Trustee Nell. All in favor? We have 7 votes in favor, none opposed. Okay. So the next item is the staff report on Measure G bond, project allocation and timeline update. And there is a revised at your desk spreadsheet, because it turns out somebody fat fingered a spreadsheet, and this is the correction. So, and Mike, are you on the phone? Should I ask you to speak directly, please?
Yes, sir.
The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you, President Ulrich. If I can even figure out my computer here.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're a little muffled. You know.
Can you hear me now?
Better? Yes, sir. A little better.
Okay, I will get closer. Can you all see the slides?
We can see water flowing in a creek.
Wonderful. Let me switch.
Or maybe that's.
How about now?
Measure G bond, project allocations and scheduled.
Too many screens. He doesn't know what to do.
Can you put the creek back up? I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I'm ready for creek.
It's kind of like the bond program. It's always flowing and getting a little bit bigger. Trustees, I know it's getting a little late, so I'll make it fast as I can. But basically, this is the second part of a brief following last board meeting's update. Wanted to quickly review allocations for the bond, and then kind of give us a starting point moving forward. So any future briefs would start with the same information formatted this way. Also request to provide the project financials. So we have the actuals for the first 4 years of the program, and then we kind of have the working budget, and show you that in the busiest slide I think I've ever made. That's almost hard to read, but wanted to get all the information there for you to see kind of by sight. And then just wanted to finish with sort of a by site schedule of projects of what's remaining so far approved by the board to do. Remember, we still have a little over $20 million that we will come back to you with specific projects that you've allocated and a couple different allocations, but we still need to give your approval for some specific projects. So we'll be doing that over the next 6 to 8 months to get the entire bond program approved by project. And then at the end, I just want to finish with sort of our recommendation for 3 staff reports we'd like to bring to you 3 times a year to give you the same kind of information on an annual basis now that we sort of found our battle rhythm and have our way forward. So with that, I'll jump into the allocation summary. So just to kind of give you a refresher, again, these allocations were the original allocations that we did, not to confuse with a couple that we came back with for additional approval. But what I want to show on this slide is we started with a $222 million bond. And you'll see with these allocations, the last line, that item there was a contingency. That 365,000 and change was left over from what we called phase 1 deferred maintenance from one of our projects. We didn't need it all, so we just put it in the contingency for the program. And that was part of the 222 million. And like I mentioned last board meeting, we'd like to start inserting interest. We are gaining interest. It does accrue quarterly. However, there's a little bit of a delay because we go through the County of Marin Office of Ed to post those accruals into our account. For example, we just got the end of the September accrual right around Christmas time posted in our account. So we're expecting to get the next quarter's interest any week now. But for now, we did this report as of the end of September 2020. We've accrued to date about $2.5 million in interest, which brings our total program bond to now $224.5 million and some change. So that's the purpose of this slide, just to show you that's sort of our new number for the bond program itself. Give you a little more detail into how we're handling contingency. So you can see in line item 1 was that $365,000. Then you add that with the interest we have to date as of the end of September. And we've also approved 2 uses of our contingency, program contingency, to augment 2 existing projects. One was a transfer to expand the construction contingency for the Center for the Arts project at Novato High, $350,000. And then we had initial project approved for $4 million at San Marin to returf their athletic fields after we did a schematic design that increased to $6.225 million. And therefore we came back and recommended and you approved using that much of the contingency to increase the budget in that particular project. So at the end of the day, as of the end of September 30th of this year, or 2020, excuse me, we have $295,814 left in our program contingency. We do have another quarterly interest payment that should post in the next couple weeks, and then we'll put that right into this same program. And then that's what we'll update with you at our next report. Moving along to where are we now with our current allocations? This is updated with current allocations approved by you, the board. And you'll notice that that showed that $295,814 now is a line item at the bottom of our allocation list, and that all of our allocations plus the contingency add up to our new program total of $224.5 million in change. So all that, I just wanted to show how the math works out. And moving forward, when we present any kind of report or financial, we will start with this slide. And then as our interest payments accrue, and of course, if we have additional recommendations to use our contingency money, you will see that shown in this format on this slide. So moving forward to the slide I would not pass my class with, it's way too busy, but wanted to fit it all in one slide for y'all to see. Apologize, it is a little bit small. But this is basically our financial statement. It has the last 4 years of actuals that we have balanced out through the business department. Nancy and her crew have done a fantastic job, not only with our general fund, but also with our bond fund as well. And as you can see, we have the 4 years there, and then we have in the red number column, the total. What I wanted to point out is this past year, 2019-20, we upped our pace a bit and spent a little over $53.5 million. Total for the bond brings it up to a little over $72 million. So we're starting to pick up our headway and reach our sort of fast-paced years. Last year was probably our biggest one. 2020-21 is looking to be slightly less, but still a significant amount of money for the bond. And then we'll slowly start going down the other side of the hill and spend a little bit less each year to get to that final $224.5 million. The other column of 2020-21 is our working budget. I didn't want to confuse it too much. There are parts of that funding that we have spent, but they aren't actuals yet. And as I've learned the hard way, things change almost on a weekly basis with funding in our financial system. So we wanted to give you a very concrete report with money that has been expended and the actual, and then what's left as the working budget. And then, of course, in the blue numbers are the approved allocation by the board. And me trying to be too fancy as an engineer, thought it'd be neat to give you a percentage breakdown, and I quickly realized the error of my ways when it was pointed out to me by a board member that how can a project be completed when it's got 10% completion, and I'll go over that in just a second. But as President Millerick mentioned, I do apologize. I got crunched numbers a little bit fast, and the two highlighted yellow are the updated numbers. In the case of the Novato Center for the Sciences and Center for the Arts project, I had forgot to add the second project. I had, I think the 20 million that was listed was just the Center for the Arts. I forgot to add the Center for the Sciences part. So altogether, it's $39.7 million. And then I was $600 off, again, typing too fast, on the Linwood Elementary School modernization. So those are the two updates. Again, I apologize for that. And then over on the right side, I wanted to just show in a pretty simple format which projects were complete. So I believe moving forward, I will not show a percentage complete column. Just, I think, causes more confusion. But in essence, if it's got a green yes next to it, the project has been completed. Again, there's a lot of projects that go through the summer, finish up right at the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we continue to make those progress payments that come in after the fiscal year, which ends on June 30th. So there's a lot of payments that happen at the end of a project that won't hit the actuals until we do it for the next year. So again, apologize for the confusion with the percentages, but as you can see, we've got a little more than half of the projects listed are completed, and we're moving forward with our next set of projects in 2021 of the summer. So moving on to the next couple slides, or site slides, I should say. These are simply just a simple table to show you by site, kind of by allocation, what's left to do at sites. Just some highlights. There's a couple of TBD labels in some of these tables. For example, here at Loma Verde, if you remember, the board had decided to use, there was $3 million left in the elementary school allocation that you decided to set aside as contingency if needed for the Linwood and Olive modernization projects. So if those projects come in on budget and we don't need any extra construction contingency, we will have another $3 million. And I think every elementary school will have these listed as, if we have that $3 million, what else we're going to do at the elementary school sites? And it could be a project that we'd recommend probably out in the 25, 26 year time frame. And then the IT toolkit, I think we're trying to formulate that now as far as when we want to roll that out to the elementary schools. But to give us a little flexibility, we had a 3-year range just in case. I think we're still lining up to try to do it on the front side, but just in case something slips or it gets a little bit too busy, capacity-wise for us, we might need to push that a year. But just moving through each school site, you can see the first allocation there is deferred maintenance, and that's what's earmarked for each site. And we're trying to do a lot of these up front, again, trying to take advantage of the construction market right now. So we have been looking at trying to move up more projects to take advantage of that without burning out our construction manager or making Melissa and I not able to sleep for the next couple of years. But we think we have a good progress. Of course, point out at Linwood and also at Olive, we're doing that modernization project this summer. So we moved everything to happen during that project. So we've got pieces of IT and deferred maintenance and the toolkit, new furniture, and then of course the actual modernization itself, which will occur this summer and through next year. Because at Linwood, they're getting a new kitchen, which will be done by February. And in Olive, they're getting a new administration building, which will be done at the same time by February. So that's those projects. It's moving through the rest of the schools, kind of the same format. Rancho, we do have some projects planned, and I know we're waiting to see the outcome of the 7-Eleven committee and what the board recommends or takes for those recommendations and eventually decides. So we have some flexibility to move some stuff around depending on that for if there is a potential school closure. So basically, just wanted to show you that we do have a lot of the work that's sort of at the upfront of this time frame, but there is some that's trickled out towards the end. So the last 2 years or so of the bond will be a bit slower. And depending on if we have any additional money from our contingency pot, we could possibly add some more projects at that point. So just moving through the schools. We're doing some work at the 2 middle schools, 3 middle schools the next couple of years. Hill, we're going to start doing some of the maintenance work there as well. And Novato High, we're mostly done, but we do have some maintenance work, new air conditioning for some of the campus that doesn't have it, and of course some exterior repairs later on. And at San Marin, we're trying to do the bulk of it this summer, and then a couple things that we're coming back in 2 years to do. And one reason we wanted to show you the schedule too is we're working with school sites because it's never a good idea to close all your school sites for 2-3 years in a row. So there's no capacity to run summer programs or those summer classes that are needed either by us or the county. So we've tried to stagger so that we only have half the elementary schools out in any given summer for the next couple of years so that we still maintain that flexibility to host summer programs. And of course, I also want to mention Novato Charter, sort of our other, that falls into our other allocation. We have that $1 million still to be determined on what exactly to do with that. And we'll come back to you with some recommendations. But just to let you know, right now we're planning to give them, much like the other school sites, some new furniture, the IT upgrade, and then also the district office here, we need the IT upgrade. So with that, I just wanted to end with, based on all of this, we sort of, I think, figured out our way forward and figured out a nice plan to come to you with what I would propose is 3 staff reports over the year. The first one would be our project budget adjustments. You've already, I think, approved 3 of those. And we figured out timing wise, we'll come to you at the end of May, right before the end of the fiscal year. And this will be project adjustments where if we finished a project, we're at the end of the year, there's no more payments due on that project. If we have leftover, we'd like to recommend either moving it to another project that's short or move it to the contingency pot for the program for future projects. So again, at the end of May, I think that's a great time. It gives us enough time before they close out the fiscal year. And then we can line up all our projects and keep the money flow going. The next report we'd like to come to you with is annually is in October. We'd like to give you what I just sort of gave you at the front half, which is the financial update. This allows the business folks to completely close out the previous year and get everything posted and lined up. It does take a bit of time to do that while you close out one year. Of course, you have to start up the next year. So we figured out by October, that's all usually settled out, and we can give you great actual numbers and show you where we're at with the program. And then, of course, about mid-school year, first of the new year in January, we'd like to come to you with a construction update or a project update. That's right after the heavy summer construction season. Allows you to see what we've done the previous year and also give you a look forward to what's coming in the next big summer construction project. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions you might have. And thank you for your
time. So thank you very much for all this information. As I told you, I love this spreadsheet. You lost me though, and I know you sent me a message about because I like the percentage complaint, but I think I'm just misunderstanding what it represents.
It was supposed to be basically a straight percentage of the actuals versus what the approved allocation was, and what it doesn't count for is the current year. So basically any payments I've made on a project since July 1st up until today, it's not considered an actual. it's a working budget. So those
You're
are not shown.
You're talking about money that not projects. So my question being, because we approved like the 2 million extra for the fields, and then we had some other overages, and then so our what reserve, or what we're calling it, was depleted. And so I think my thought on this was that if we've got a project that we're like 90% complete, we can pretty much figure we're not going to be over budget if we're under budget. So that was sort of what I was thinking. So I don't know if that ever comes into play. The distinction between not how much you paid for, but is if the project's complete and we're not going to have any more bills, and that's great. But as we were going into our, I think what we have $295,000 isn't left.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that much. So if, as we get into these other big projects, where are we going to get the money if we go over with all of our limit, which hopefully we won't, but.
Right. So as I was mentioned about those three staff reports, in October, or I'm sorry, in end of May, this coming May, we will come to you with a project adjustment recommendation kind of report. And in that, as we closed out the projects that I have that were completed, any money that was left over in there, at that point, we would have a recommendation of where to move that money. And if no other projects in need of funding, then we'll go to the program continue.
Yeah, I think that's good and important. Again, hopefully we'll keep on track, but some of these we're starting to get a little over, and I know we saved in other areas, but just the whole big picture of $295,000 left in this, isn't very much. So, and I know got the interest payment coming too, so that'll be good.
Right, we went through the same emotional roller coaster as well when we first started doing this, and we're like, oh boy. But okay. I think with the construction market coming up, and we're starting to see through Greystone West's work at other school districts, they're really starting to get a lot of under budget quotes for work coming up for the summer of 21, and that's expected to carry through probably summer of 22 before the economy catches up.
That would be great.
Other questions or comments now?
I'll just say quickly that I think the proposed schedule is fine. I think that those are good periods and the type of reports to bring forward. So I look forward to seeing that materialize. So thank you.
Other questions? If not, I need approval of acceptance of this report.
It was a staff report. It's just a staff report.
Is it just staff is not accepted?
Yeah. While we're exploring whether it's a staff report or
staff report is
discussion action, I want to thank Mike and Melissa in particular for their hard work. I mean, we continue to see high quality work coming out of that bond office around not only the projects. I mean, when you go out and you see these campuses, the science building, the Center for the Arts, the Performing Arts Center, the STEM building, we're seeing high quality work that's coming in on time, on budget for the most part. And it's because we've got really good people leading this work. And Mike, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and your team, particularly Melissa. I work fairly long hours. It's common for me to show up and have Melissa and or Mike be here, and when I leave, it's common to have Melissa and or Mike be here. So that good work isn't happening by accident. It isn't happening just because they're smart and good people. They're also working terribly hard to make this happen. I just wanted to share my appreciation with you, Mike. Thank you very much. We both really enjoy the heck out of our jobs, and just glad we have a job here and working with such great people too. But thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. All right. Okay, so I think that concludes the business for this evening. Anything else for the order? Take the order. Well, otherwise, the meeting is now adjourned. We'll see you on the 16th.
16.